All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of a gaming podcast, episode 24. We just wrapped up watching the Xbox business
update
podcast, something, you
I was
know,
about to call it a showcase.
you know, very hard to find.
Little column B.
Very hard to find podcasts because even though it says youtube.com/Xbox, it wasn't on there, but you know, whatever, we found it. Steve Taylor, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm, just dissecting everything that we just found out, and I'm excited to be able to talk about it with you all here. And yeah, I'm just I'm just refreshing the Xbox tweet just to kind of be like, where are they talking about this stuff? Because it's like, my goodness. Anyway, hi, how's it going?
Awesome. Caboose, my man, how you doing?
Good, doing good. I mean, yeah, that was an interesting discussion, definitely, and I'm sure we're gonna have an interesting discussion coming up here too. So, I'm happy to be here.
All right, Steve.
Feeling really good.
Sorry, Steve, you're not Taylor again. Sorry.
We can
Steve Taylor again one more time.
Something's changed. Yeah.
Any updates, Steve? Well, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling really good coming off the Xbox business update. I feel like even last week there was a lot of, not trepidation maybe just within the industry, within, even our circle when we were recording the podcast. So now that we have a lot more context to go over, I've got plenty of notes that I took throughout that 20-minute podcast. So yeah, I think we're in for a really good discussion.
And the turmoil, you're not joking. Like, if you want to get views on your video, just put like, my opinion about this, and then people are like, you're wrong. What are you talking about? And then a
screenshot of you going,
yeah, exactly. Like, this is amazing.
Oh my God.
What?
Wait. I think we're gonna need a screenshot to be able to put up with this post. So everyone just do that.
Perfect. That's all I need. All right. Riley's that's perfect. That's perfect for Riley.
Not even into this bit whatsoever.
That's perfect. No. That's perfect. And you know what? I want to introduce Atmos Riley. New sound. What's going on?
Yeah. Do I sound better now?
Oh my God.
Oh, you sound crystal clear.
7.1. I can surround sound.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That was a very interesting showcase. I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, me too.
Just keep talking. Let's
just dive right in. Riley, what do you think? What do you think about Riley? Let you take it away. New voice. You'll lead us. What's going on?
I think it was good. To be honest, I think it laid clear why you should still invest in the Xbox ecosystem.
For sure.
We're looking at 4 games right now, but to clarify, it's the 4 games right now. I don't think they stop there. So I think
no way.
So I think, and even Phil Spencer, in interviews surrounding this, I'm seeing now he will not commit to Indiana Jones not coming to PlayStation. So
and Starfield.
Starfield. Both confirmed. Yeah.
These things will be continuous discussions for them moving forward as they see the results and hopefully the fruits of these explorative releases. So. I feel good about the current direction. I think it sets the stage for more to look forward to from them this year that will remain within the ecosystem for the time being.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's as close to I think all we really wanted was an idea, an immediate roadmap. I understand you can't give us a 5-year roadmap. I feel really confident with the 4 titles that, they didn't announce them, but some reports are coming out now that are filling the gaps there. Yeah. So we kind of know what they are, and I think they all make a lot of sense and don't take away from the Xbox ecosystem at all. So it's a very good start, and I'm looking forward to seeing
what are they? For in case someone who's listening, they have no idea. What are these 4 games?
So
then,
VGC is reporting that Pentiment, which was a smaller title, is going multi-platform. Hi-Fi Rush, which was widely speculated. Sea of Thieves, which was also speculated, and then Grounded is the other one, which was kind of an
Grounded was the new one because I don't think
I don't think anyone talked about that. Yeah,
the first 3 had been talked about, but Grounded was one that everyone kind of speculated on. I think even when our reaction, we kind of thought it could have been several things, including Grounded. So
as soon as they are saying a potential live service game or something that had a big community behind it, obviously in your head you start to think, oh my, Halo multiplayer, is that what's happening here? Grounded is, I guess, probably more up to speed with them wanting to bring games that have been exclusive to Xbox, but may not necessarily be the biggest Xbox exclusives,
and then introducing them to a wider audience. But as you said, Riley, it's not going to stop here. Like they're not going to be like, all right, it's these 4 games and that's it. We're cutting you guys off. Or like, no way. Especially too, if they see quite a bit of success in terms of a wider audience being built into these games. Now, if more people on PlayStation or Switch get introduced to games like Sea of Thieves, Grounded, Hi-Fi Rush, and there's some success there, then obviously it is a business plan that, regardless of what the internet is going to tell you, works. And generates quite a bit of revenue for everybody involved. And so it won't stop at just 4 games. And I think, too, don't be surprised if at some point in the future you hear that Halo multiplayer is going to be coming to PlayStation. You know, like that is, I feel like, I know it's a juggernaut to Xbox, but Halo is not in a great spot right now. It hasn't been in a great spot for, I don't even know how long, right? Like, don't get me wrong, gameplay is great, and some of the updates they're at, and like I've even jumped in and I had that itch recently, and I do think that there's quite a bit of fun in Halo Infinite, but it just doesn't pull in the kind of numbers that I think Xbox would have wanted for their literal flagship. This is the face of our entire brand game, you know?
I don't know if I would say that Halo would be one that they would consider moving, unless it's sort of like something like a Warzone or Fortnite,
and that's what I think could be happening.
But I think that there's still the core Halo experience that we have been. So whatever 343 will be working on, or whatever other studio that event like kind of will, like, I guess, I mean, they're still saying 343 is the home of Halo, and it probably will be for a long time. I think that core Halo experience will always be there, like be on Xbox, and I don't think that's going anywhere. But I mean, we already knew that this was gonna, like, that Halo was. We already have Halo on other platforms.
Right.
Look at Fortnite. Like, people are looking at Master Chief and being like, "It's the guy from Fortnite." Like,
but is there plans of like a Halo story expansion and like
No.
No, because
not currently, no.
Because I believe
not at all.
Because what I'm thinking. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say I think that Xbox and 343 have said there's no further like story support for Infinite. Certain Affinity's been reported to not even be working on a battle royale. Like, yeah. I think they're kind of cutting ties and just moving on to the next project. Especially now that they're doing the not even seasonal updates for Infinite, they're doing like episodes. It's like, okay, you guys are really just winding down until, you know, you guys can just abandon it and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and the reason why I bring that up is because I feel like you want a reason to bring the audience, also maybe bring them back to the Xbox, or like, hey, you want to get an Xbox because you will only experience like a Halo story on Xbox. But here's a teaser from the multiplayer side of it. Like if you're just playing for multiplayer, here you go. But if you want your story, you get both experiences on Xbox. But if you're on PlayStation, you're like, oh, I want to kind of check out that story kind of thing. Maybe, and that's why I'm like, if there's like a story expansion coming out, or like plans are coming out, maybe then they'll be like, well, here's a Xbox, here's a Halo multiplayer on PlayStation, or like wherever, or Switch 2, like, whatever they figure out. And then, but if you want to continue like the fight only on Xbox and PC, you know?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because Phil Spencer's like, in the next 5 to 10 years, I don't see exclusives really being. He didn't say they'd be completely gone, but he said they would be pretty much.
Well, it's kind of interesting he did bring that up, because I had some notes taken down here, and especially with Sony, even though they're like leading with the sales of, like, even compared to Xbox, they're not selling as much as what they did with the PS4. They're still trailing behind. Where, like, if they're like comparing the two. And that's why now you're seeing like Sony's like really like focusing on like, okay, well, like the HellDivers, for example, like even though like I know that's not like a Sony Sony like flagship game, but they're still like, well, let's just put this game on PC and PlayStation, let them two talk and let's see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised down the road, like, the next Spider-Man 3 it'll be PC and PlayStation, because it's just like, hey, let's just make the most money out of this, So
day and date,
yeah.
Disagree.
I'm just saying, maybe not Spider-Man specifically, but I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised.
You don't
because
talk about my Spider-Man like
I'm just picking Spider-Man, like just that's the first that popped in my head. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if like Ratchet or Clank, you'd be like, hey, you know what? Here it is, day and date.
I could see things like that. I mean, they recently just did it like with HellDivers, right? So I could definitely see that
anything service related makes sense.
Yeah, things that aren't necessarily like
for now though. That's the keyword for now. I think down the road,
many things, like we've gone from PlayStation being like we're a console and PC is not even relevant to now day and date within what 4 years, less than that. So by the time that Spider-Man 3 can viably come out, PlayStation could be in a totally different ecosystem. Like you're talking like on the cusp, if not even over PlayStation 6. So that landscape could be totally different at that point.
The way that I look at this though is the same position right now that Xbox is in. Even after this is a really good presentation, honestly. I think that they laid out their plans clearly, concisely. They talked about everything. I think the only thing that was very weird is that they didn't just outright name the 4 games that are coming to other platforms. I don't think especially since VGC had just went out and reported it anyways, like there wasn't a ton of suspense about a few of them. At least they could have said Hi-Fi Rush, right? They at least could have said Sea of Thieves. So I thought that was the only thing that was weird about the presentation. But at the end of the day, what this comes down to is the same thing as to why a ton of people were freaking out in the first place. Even though people like us here on this podcast are like, having Starfield on one console for X amount of years and then having it inevitably be available on another console doesn't diminish the quality of where it was exclusive to in the first place, right? But it's all about optics. It's all about what people are saying online. This is kind of what social media does, right? And this is what ended up losing Xbox the most pivotal console generation ever in the Xbox One and PS4 console generation, right? Like them coming out of the gate with the DRM, with the always online thing, PlayStation making that commercial about how you share games. That was the beginning of the end for them, right? It completely shifted the social media conversation. It completely shifted everything that everyone had to say or had to think about Xbox into PlayStation's favor, right? And from then on, it was just one loss after another. Even if they reverted the DRM, even if they launched Xbox One and Halo 5 was the greatest game of all time, and Gears 5 was the greatest exclusive ever made, it just didn't matter. At that point, the optics weren't in Xbox's favor. And so I wonder if even after this really good presentation and after them being so clear and concise about their plans, do the optics of the news that had broke last week, is the damage already done?
Well, I kind of wonder too, because I think that the takeaway that the core consumer is going to have is Xbox games are coming to PlayStation.
Yes, right, exactly.
That's the immediate reaction that people are going to have. I don't know. They have a lot to show in a June showcase. It sounds like they have a lot of first-party software to showcase and prepare for. But right now, the headlines I'm seeing even generally are like, these are the Xbox games coming to PlayStation and Nintendo. So it's like, I don't like, maybe it's already out there. And I don't know how you prepare for that when this is the decision. And it seems to have been their goal for a long time now.
But I think not only that is that, aside from that, everything is status quo. We continually went through that 20-minute presentation and said, yeah, that's something Phil has said before. Activision Blizzard games are coming to Game Pass. Cool. Yeah, we knew that was going to happen. Oh, they're making new consoles and controllers. Yeah, we knew that because of the leak and everything. It's like everything else was so status quo and just kind of met our expectations. The only real takeaway is, hey, there's 4 games coming out right now.
Yeah, the only thing that was different this time around was that they felt they had to be able to say something to basically let the players know, hey, no, things aren't changing. Our strategy is still the same. And things might change here and there. I mean, that's the thing with business. It's like, plans change here. Like everything that was in the FTC leak with all like their up to 2028 plans, whatever. That's guaranteed going to change. That business plans always do. It's like it's never nothing is ever set in stone. I mean, look at the potential streaming box that was rumored a couple years ago that we were going to get. Like that got canceled. That got basically doesn't exist anymore. So things have changed, and basically I kept thinking about the whole time. It's like, They've said this before. They've said all this, and yet it's just I feel bad that essentially that Xbox has to come out and basically say, y'all just shut up.
But you know what?
Yeah.
You know what though? I don't really feel bad for them, and I don't mean this in like a bad way at all. Like even last week, I think I was a little mean and kind of frustrated with Xbox just in terms of it like fumbling the messaging and everything.
But they were
that
though.
Being said, they were understandably.
Yeah.
I think it was all valid criticism I was throwing. But I do think that this moment, this kind of window of time, is going to be very pivotal, not only for Microsoft but as the industry as a whole. Because a hill I'll always die on is, for better or worse, Microsoft is always leading as far as the video game platform. Sure, might not be leading in terms of hardware specs or especially the games nowadays. I think that plays it. But that being said, you can take a red string from today and go all the way back to the original Xbox when they said, "Hey, we're launching Xbox Live. We're building in a Ethernet port." You go to the Xbox 360. Hey, we're introducing achievements with a console that has a removable hard drive. Just 2 months ago, I unscrewed my PlayStation just to put in a SSD.
Yeah.
You go to the Xbox One generation, Caboose, you even brought it up, the DRM, the always online. Guess what? I can't play HellDivers without it being online. Servers go down on Sunday.
True.
Guess what? I'm SOL.
It's true.
They have always been on the cusp of pushing the industry forward in terms of a platform, in terms of a service. Whether or not the industry is ready for it, I think that the always online was definitely way ahead of its time. But cloud gaming, the list goes on. So I do think that this in particular, this kind of like multi-platform strategy that they have, we're looking at PlayStation and they're kind of on the ledge there of kind of copying.
It's true. There's like to put it this way, there's like a looming cloud, like a storm is slowly rolling in, and it's going to start raining always online, on us really soon. And that's like worrisome, I will say, because the thing is you're bang on. You're absolutely right. DRM, what they were going to do with the Xbox One, they were just one step too far ahead, because now it's kind of the norm. Games like Suicide Squad, games like HellDivers will come out. I'm sure they won't be the last live service games that are always online to come, right? And so we could be building to that becoming a reality where we have a console that's entirely, you need to have an internet connection to play on it, right? That is a little scary. I don't know when that could arrive. I don't know even if PlayStation is going to do more than just dip their toes in it. Like I don't know if they're diving into the deep end of always online because of how much they want to protect their brand reputation, especially in the eyes of the public. And that's always just been the issue for as far ahead as Xbox might be in terms of its ideas. They still cannot control the narrative, the what people say about the brand. And those rumors coming out last week, I'm sure at one point or another, Starfield and Indiana Jones were in the conversation to becoming a PlayStation. Of
course.
That was
with that leak,
they might still be.
Exactly right. But with that leak, with the reception to it, they had to put together this podcast in like the snap of a finger. And I'm sure whatever thought that went through the grapevine from Phil or whoever it was that said maybe Indiana Jones could come to other consoles, they were like, oh, we never said that. But I'd imagine that was at one point a conversation, and that's kind of how leaks happen, right? Like one person says something and then a game of telephone is played. But so what I'm trying to say here, or what I'm trying to get at is, I think Xbox has a fairly solid plan for the future. 34 million subscribers on Game Pass is really good. And it offers a lot of value for the brand. But at the end of the day, the way these consoles sell, the way these games sell, the way that people get excited for the future is kind of in terms of what the general consumer thinks. And the way that it is right now, the narrative is PlayStation is the place to be. And I don't know if Xbox is going to be able to shift that in their favor ever. But I wonder if they can continue to reel more people in and build that Game Pass subscriber base to the point where it's like, we're good. We're set.
So I think that, again, something like this definitely does give way to building off on that value proposition, because, they talked about, Diablo 4 being the first major Activision Blizzard game to come to Xbox. And they hammered home the point that Xbox Game Pass is going to exist on Xbox. Whether or not that's a decision that they made, or Nintendo and PlayStation were like, hell no, you're not bringing this to our consoles. Regardless, there's only going to be an added value factor. The more games, the more times that Call of Duty comes to Game Pass, the more that a Spiral collection and everything, because what's going to end up happening is PlayStation players are going to be like, well, I could buy Call of Duty here for $70, or I buy or Call of Duty and another Game Pass game, whatever it is. That's in Canada $140, or I could go and get Xbox Game Pass on PC, or on an Xbox Series S, and I'm covered for an entire year. I have I have more than 100 titles, and that's just a inherent value proposition. I think right now Xbox is kind of in this middle ground where they do have games like a Starfield and like Indiana Jones coming out. They just don't have that constant flow of, you need to keep an Xbox Game Pass subscription going, just like you keep Netflix.
Yeah. And then you, next thing you know, 100, 200 people, 1,000, whatever, X amount of people just subscribe for that 1 month to be like, I just want to try out this one game. And then they forget about it. And that's it. They're locked in for a year.
That's 1,000, 2,000 people that like Xbox just basically just said, hey, you paid for Game Pass.
100%.
You be like, and they may, and some of those 1,000, 2,000 people, whatever, may have found, oh, they've got this game on here. Oh, they got this, and they may want to be able to keep. That's the draw that Game Pass is.
Sure.
I think that is where the exclusivity is going to be for Xbox. Like that. I don't think that the conversation about it being on PS5 or on Switch was anywhere in that conversation. I think that is something that is true to Xbox. That is where they are putting all their chips in. They're building Game Pass as a platform, and then they're just having the hardware to help support it as basically being the best experience for Game Pass. We may get it where I could definitely see a future where they're going to invest in hardware, but that hardware is going to get cheaper, and that hardware is also going to be able to expand and be able to get better. So that way we can be able to have the better experiences. And I think that's because all the investment is going into Game Pass. Now, granted, yes, I think it's sad that essentially that we're definitely, obviously, the physical media is gone. It's on its death march right now. I'm sad to see it go, but in a sense, it's as much as I like owning my games, I like having that so that any given time I can be able to play a game. Game Pass kind of already does that, and if there's a game that I want to keep playing past like a year, that's very rare for me. Unless it's like a Fortnite or a Call of Duty, which I don't really play a lot of, within the span of like a full year. The only game that ever does that for me was Destiny, and that's something that I've always kind of kept as that's a game I constantly will be playing. But I don't necessarily need the console in order to be able to do that. I can play the game pretty much on anywhere I want, and that's the beauty of having this sort of the digital future, is that I can be able to play it on anywhere I want without having to worry about the physical constraints of can I play with my friends on PlayStation? Okay, no, do I have to switch over to PC? Do I have to go over to my Xbox? I don't know. It's like, I am sad to see it go, the physical media go. I still have Xbox games on my shelf that I still want to be able to keep, including the entire Arkham series. I love having that there, but I'm okay with the digital future, and it seems that that's where Xbox is going, at least with Game Pass. It's like, it's set. Like I know it's like sort of the Netflixification of gaming, but hey, it makes sense with the way that the future of gaming is going, and I don't know. I feel free to say I'm wrong or that.
But it's something that I feel like it's something that everyone needs to accept down the road, because it's been there. Like Xbox says, like Diablo 4 is coming on March 28th, and I'm going to get to you, Kubu. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Yeah, but like Diablo's coming on March 24th, and like they even had Riot Games. They've been putting like a lot of investment in Game Pass. Like you get everything that Riot was offering for you to buy separately, you can get on Game Pass. PC, on PC Game Pass.
Death Stranding on PC.
Death Stranding on PC as well.
Platform specific.
Yakuza. I'm playing Yakuza right now. All thanks to Xbox Game Pass. it's been like we all know it's coming, and it's something that it's sad to let it go, but like, you know, like no one was crying like, oh my VHS tapes are going away.
Well,
you know,
I think on the physical media front, there will always be some sort of physical media. Vinyl and CDs are coming back now, but it definitely isn't the mainstay and the main form of consumption. Because like when you start scaling it to all of these platforms, you start encountering more costs to do so, and to like to print on a Switch cartridge is totally different to print on an Xbox disc is totally different to print on a PS5 disc.
Yeah.
So like once you start doing these things, like there are different costs and stuff, whereas digital is just like, here's the download. We don't have to worry about like producing anything. So
what do you got, Steve?
I would say here are two perfect examples of what I can definitely see the future of physical media going. Is these guys, the special editions of these games. I have Force Unleashed in a VHS box set for Nintendo,
limited run
for the Switch, and it's just basically the game, like and it's just a special. And then I picked up Tunic over at MagFest.
Oh, that looks so cool.
You know what's really cool about this thing, and this is one of the things that I absolutely loved about the original game to begin with. It comes with the freaking instruction manual. Like the same instruction manual that you get in the game, you can actually be able to get in physical form. I mean,
that's cool, man.
But I'm gonna throw a wrench though, because down the road there's gonna be just an Xbox with no physical option.
Exactly.
That's
then,
okay, though.
Then what are you gonna do about?
Well, it may always support an external hard drive or something like that.
But then I feel like that with the industry going this direction, certain rules have to also go along with it. Like if I'm buying like for Diablo, for example, like digitally, I feel like I should have some way of owning that. And that's also a thing with the whole industry with music, movies. There's no change of that, and with like everything's going digitally, the laws of it of ownership has never upgraded from whatever was created,
right.
And that needs to happen as well.
That's more of how old school the system is for that.
Yeah, one of the coolest things coming out this year from Analog is an N64, right? Like there were these things will pop up from, you know, if Nintendo doesn't want to make one, and if there's money in it, they probably will eventually want to do a throwback or something like that to play physical media, but. Like there's. But
I think that's even going with this.
You know,
like it's a newish game. I mean, it came out a couple years ago, but it's like I can like the fact that you can be able to, if you want to be able to support it, and if you love the idea of having physical media, like having these special editions are amazing, and like it sucks essentially that now the special editions that you pre-order don't like come with just a digital code. They don't even come with the physical game itself. But I think that, like we've seen it with vinyl, like having special vinyl packages, even with video game soundtracks. I think there always will be a market for folks who want to be able to have like a special collector's edition of a game. But I think that like pretty much, I mean, I own probably over 100, 200 games now at this point across all of PC and consoles, and I'm happy that it's basically just sitting on a hard drive, like. Because I don't have the room. I don't have a room for having like a whole bookshelf of games. And now some people do, and that's totally fine. And I'm not knocking anyone who and I'm saying like, no, you're old school if you prefer the physical media. But to me, it just like it goes to show it's like I just want to be able to pick up it like. I don't want to have to sit around and have to like look for a game or I don't know which way. It's like, where is it? I can't find it. It's like, if I want to be able to play a game, I just want to be able to pick up and play it. Now, granted, the conversation of essentially what if a game just like goes away from Game Pass, like we're seeing on like the fact that, you know, like shows and movies disappear off of streaming services all the time. That's a whole other conversation. And I don't know if we'll ever be able to, we'll eventually have to have that conversation. But to me, I don't know. I'm just going in circles, but I just
listen to bring it back to the Xbox conversation. I think it's really interesting to bring in like this part of the Xbox Wire here that was written by Jeff Rubenstein, because I think that this somewhat addresses exactly this conversation. He says, "quote Our commitment to game preservation is unwavering. Xbox players should have confidence in building your digital library in the Xbox ecosystem. We will continue to reward that with the the most robust player-friendly experiences, including backwards compatibility, crossplay, cross-save progression, convenient cloud gaming, and more. And then he ends off just kind of listing off these like pillars of the like kind of the Xbox ecosystem right now, something that they were trying to drive home, which is what it means to be part of Xbox, which is having the biggest games in the world will be on Xbox. Our games will always come to Xbox Game Pass day one. They'll always have a robust and innovative multi-year hardware roadmap, which is, I think, very important to remember. Compatibility with your library is a priority. They have that in bold. And then Xbox will continue to find game creators to help game creators find the biggest audience possible. So I think that's something that's very important, especially as we're talking about digital libraries, an investment in a digital library. I've been, on the Xbox ecosystem since the original. I have games going back, 20 plus years at this point. Like, I understand like that there were some fears and, freakouts this last couple of weeks where people are like, oh no, are they going to get out of the hardware ecosystem? Is my digital library at risk and everything? Yeah. I loved that they came out, Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, Matt Booty came out and they were like, no, we are still in the hardware space. We might not be leading in it, but we're still committed to it to a point where you guys can feel comfortable purchasing games here, purchasing your games digitally, and know that, in 5-10 years, you guys will have something there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I mean, I don't like. I'm looking at this.
It's also worth pointing out. I'm seeing a tweet here regarding Xbox Game Pass. The last time that it was reported the amount of users were on Game Pass was back in January of 2022. When they had reported it last, they said that they had 25 million subscribers to Game Pass. Which, don't get me wrong, that's still impressive. But so they've leaped now here into 2024, 2 years later, up to 34 million.
Yep.
And that 34 million also includes the number of Xbox Live Gold subscribers that were changed to Game Pass Core back in September, meaning that they haven't made that big of a jump in subscriber growth.
I think they've capped out on what they can do on their own.
I think so too. But now, I mean, with the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, like with things like Diablo 4 and potentially some other big ones in the future, maybe we could see that start to spike a little higher. Nevertheless, at the end of the day, if we're talking about, digital games and the preservation, I'm glad that they have a commitment to that. I just hope that is a commitment that will last many moons from now. Because a lot of talk is about like right now, the immediate future, right? What's 10 years from now look for my digital library, right? Like, what does next year look like for a game like Suicide Squad? Because those Steam numbers are starting to dwindle. And don't get me wrong, they're adding an offline mode that's going to be coming for the story specifically.
Yeah.
So when Joker drops and there's new playable areas and new boss fights and new weapons, do I lose all of that when those servers go offline? Can I no longer go and explore these new playable areas that they're going to add into the game after the servers get shut down? This is the stuff that's scary about always online, right? Is that, yes, it's successful. Yes, it generates a ton of revenue. Like you said, Steve Saylor, Destiny 2, the juggernaut, right? The king probably will never go away because it is, in terms of live service games, it's at the tippy top. And
it's the proven success that game service can work.
Exactly, right? But for every Destiny 2 comes 10 Suicide Squads, right? Yep. Where they just don't work out. And then you got Avengers that gets delisted. It's not even that they shut down the servers. They make it, you can't even go to Steam, to Xbox Store, to PlayStation. You can't just go buy it right now if you wanted to and get it on sale for like $10 just to see what all the hubbub was about,
I think that's where I agree with you. It's like, but also, would anyone still want to be able to keep playing Avengers other than maybe the single player campaign? Right. If they separated that and just basically be like, okay, go play, enjoy it, enjoy the campaign, and that's it. Like, that's the swan song to Avengers. That'd be great. If I could be able to do that with Destiny, be able to go in and play the campaign or the different campaigns and the different expansions offline, and if Destiny decides to end its after 10 years of being on, like, always online and being that kind of little games of service, That I think is probably a good compromise for people who still like to be able to play those games.
Yep.
Granted, for the large majority of folks, that's not like, who cares? Like you mentioned Avengers. I don't want to go back to play Avengers, but I probably would want to go play the thing that I liked, which was the campaign. And I hope that basically like studios can be able to see that, and that yes, okay, the like Suicide Squad didn't hit for everyone in that played it. But there are some things that people still find fun about that, and a lot of that had to deal with the single player campaign. So I think that goes to show it's like basically single player kind of still rules no matter what. But that's a whole other different argument in and of itself.
I just want okay, I don't know. We're running in circles, but yes, it's true. Yes. Okay, this is the future, always online, everything like that. It's the hardest pill to swallow. I love my physical media. I love collecting the physical copies. I have physical copies of Spider-Man behind me, right? Things like that. It's awesome to like own those, to have it in your hand. The feeling of ejecting the disc of the last game you were playing, putting in the new one, it's the novelty of it is still there for me. I get though that the future is looking to be always online, that the future is looking to be digital. And it's a bummer. For as much as we have to accept that is the future, I still have to voice how much that bothers me, like how much that upsets me, and how much I wish we lived in like a different timeline where we can kind of make our cake and have it too.
Yeah. One thing that I just wanted to bring up, and I thought this was my like only concern, if you will, out of that whole business update, is how much they were driving home that Pal World was this success or like this unicorn that they could continue to chase. I was like, guys, come on, this is under such special circumstances. That this is just a Pokemon clone that people have been wanting for. Like this isn't like a proof of concept that you guys can replicate or chase in any kind of like tangible way. So hearing Sarah Bond kind of talk about power, it's not exactly hearing Sarah Bond just talk about it as if like they can just continue to replicate that over and over again to grow Xbox Game Pass and grow the ecosystem. I was like, guys, this is a dangerous thing to invest in. I mean, yes, it's great. It was a great boon, but Caboose, like you're saying, they're still only reporting like minimal growth in Xbox Game Pass.
All of Power World's success, 99.9% of it was on PC and Steam. Like the thing
I think it's just less than half. I'd say like, because they did say like it was like the last number I think I saw was like
it was 19 million.
19 million. I think it was like 7 or like it was like between 7 and 9 million on Game Pass, and the rest were on Steam. So
that's crazy. Like, okay, that's crazy.
That's
but
sales.
Isn't that sales?
No, they did. Like there was something that there was a story that came out that I remember seeing. It was like when it hit like 17 million, it was 10 million on Steam, 7 million players on Game Pass.
I'll do a Google. I'll look.
Please look into that, Riley. I'm genuinely curious.
Wrong, but I
think because that's why Sarah brought it up with Power World, is that because it was a proven success that what their strategy is for and has been since Game Pass launched was. You can for creators who are making games, you can put it on Game Pass, but we're still allowing you to be able to sell it elsewhere. So, and that's where I think that the gaming industry is far better prepared for the future than necessarily the movie and entertainment industry, because like when you put a movie on Netflix, that's it. You're really not going to get it on Netflix unless they sell the rights to someone else. Whereas with Game Pass, yeah, you play it on Game Pass for those players right now, but you can also sell it on Steam and then potentially also sell it on PlayStation, also sell it on Nintendo, and they're still going to make their money no matter what.
All right,
so Pal World sold 12 million copies on Steam and had 7 million through Game Pass. Which is good.
That's okay. So there's still a chunk
for $10 and then bail after a month. Like that is.
That's also.
I'm sorry. Wait.
This is what I wanted to bring up is like of the 7 million that are trying it out on Game Pass, how many of those are left, and how many of those ended up being like, kind of server issues? We don't get it. We don't get lobby.
I can tell you right now, I played it day one and I was done.
If you even buy it, that's the same if you even buy it off Steam. It's like, well, okay, you play it for like maybe a month, and then you don't want to play it anymore.
But I'm talking about even like the people who were dedicated to the game, right? There were issues with the Xbox version of Pal World that I remember had here. I mean, again, anybody who's played it here, you can correct me, but I remember that the lobby sizes weren't as big. You couldn't get as many people in there.
Yep,
and that there were some issues, server issues as well.
Yeah, but
the lobby size thing was something that they wanted to be more established, and if the game was a success, like Xbox,
then they were going to expand.
Xbox was going to expand on it, because like due to cost and everything as well.
Sure,
they would have the same issue on PlayStation as they would on Xbox. 100%.
It just makes sense. I'm not calling out Xbox in that instance. I'm just saying that something like Power World, clearly it had become as massive as a success. I'd say in this case, maybe not 99.9%. That was probably hyperbolic of me, but I'd say in a majority case, it was because of its the success on Steam specifically.
And they also came out during like a dry moment in the game as well.
It's something that I think that I'm hoping that at least like both Xbox and even other studios are not like taking the wrong lessons from this. This is something that you can't necessarily always duplicate. You can't expect. It's like basically trying to create a viral video. You can't. It just happens. What you hope to be able to have is that you have a platform or basically a bunch of different videos and different content that can be able to rising tide raises all ships, and then hopefully you'll get more subscribers and you get more people interested in the content that you are already creating. And it's the same with Xbox. It's like, okay, this could raise the tide for other ships and other games that are on Game Pass and then also sell well on Steam. I mean, we're like, it's not this, the reason. This is not the reason why, or Xbox is not the reason why, but PlayStation is experiencing that success now with HellDivers. The fact that it's released on PS5 and on Steam, like a lot of people are really enjoying that game. Now, granted, the game is great, but it's something that you can't always just duplicate. But it's
lightning in a bottle is showing that lightning in a bottle, right?
Yes, but it also shows that you like that at least for Xbox that they can have more lightnings in bottles. Like they can have that. And I think that's the key takeaway here is that there is that potential. You may not be able to it just depends obviously on the game and kind of the zeitgeist and release timing and stuff like that. Because I think that was what the earlier this week when people were talking about Immortals of Avium and they're saying, well, it failed on every single metric or every sales metric and we gave the players everything that they would wanted, and they never mentioned the fact that it's like, no, you kind of released it at the wrong time. Like it released it in between the Baldur's Gate 3 and Starfield, and that was like one of your biggest problems.
It was up there.
It was up there, sure. I think it goes to show that essentially it's sometimes it's a big risk to be able to put out a game, no matter what, whether you're an indie studio or the quadruple A studios that were out there right now. But I think what Xbox is doing is laying that groundwork to basically show that, hey, games like Power World can actually be a success. Games like obviously like Minecraft, obviously we get other Bethesda games basically that we're gonna see coming to the day and date on console and PC. Like we're gonna start to see that more of these successes are gonna happen. And it's giving what's really doing, and at the end of the day, is giving players choice.
Yeah, that's totally true. And I'm right there with you. I think just going back to my original point, Xbox would be wise not to chase this and just let it happen organically. That's like you can't find the next Minecraft just under a pillow. You have to let it come to you, kind of thing. That's just the fact of it. There is no Among Us 2, if you will, because no one's developed it yet. Like you can't go out and expect to have that kind of viral sensation out there that's just going to expand your platform.
But I mean, that's the huge issue.
Environment.
What's that?
A lot of this is the product of the environment and the climate and everything. So people wanted like that Pokemon knockoff and they got it.
Exactly. Again, perfect storm, right place, right time sort of situation, right? Absolutely. And like you were saying, Steve Saylor, you got to hope that with games like that they don't learn the wrong lesson. And I feel like that's what we're seeing with live service games as a whole, right?
Sure.
Is Destiny came out, was, let's be honest, a critical failure when it launched. People thought,
true. Yeah, first Destiny wasn't great.
It was getting like 5 out of 10s. Like I think the Metacritic was very low, and then the raid came out, and then they had these content updates, and it was like, no, they're not. Bungie will not give up on this. They know there's an audience.
3 expansions to be able to for players to basically be like, oh, Yeah, no, this is a great game. It was
I'd
it was
even
Rise of the
argue
Taken King. That was
Taken King.
Which was
like
the third expansion because they had Warmind was before that,
right.
and I'm
those
blanking on the other
two
one.
little DLCs, the wolves.
No, Forspoken was Destiny 2, but
you're right.
Yeah, but it was Taken King that was basically was like the moment
the
for
first big
for
expansion.
Bungie.
Yes. Yeah, the
and
first like here's year 2 for Destiny, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then that was like a pivotal moment because they were like, no, we will not give up on this game. We're going to take in all this community feedback. We're going to implement these changes into the game, and then we're going to lift up all the things that you already think work. And that's why the game had this longevity to it. That's why it survived against all odds. But what everybody took from that was like, oh yeah, live service games, 100 different currencies, crafting, and this. Like, let's just do that.
They
right?
were seeing they were trying to create Destiny year 8, 9, and 10
on year
before
1.
they even tried to be able to create year 1. And I did look it up. So basically, Taken King was the third expansion because the first one was Dark Below, second was House of Wolves.
House of Wolves, right?
That's
okay.
Quite, yeah.
And I remember Dark Below was like, oh, okay, something, and then House of Wolves was like, oh, this game's in trouble.
Then they had Rise of Iron after that, and then that's when they were basically released Destiny 2.
Rise of Iron, those are for me like some golden years of gaming, man. I loved Destiny back in the day. I was hooked on it, and those expansions, they kept me coming back every single year. And now these live service games, we just don't get that, like you said, they start out of the gate being like, we need to pack in as much as these games did when they were 3 or 4 years into their life cycle. And that's just not feasible without having a 9-year development time like Suicide Squad.
It's a double-edged sword because there is like, okay, yes, you don't want to be able to load in all of the different systems and engines that essentially like Destiny year 8 has had, but you also have to make sure that the content is there. That is like there is a gameplay loop that is something that players want to be able to keep coming back to. And that's and again, it's like kind of we're talking about lightning in a bottle. Destiny wasn't that at first, but then became that. And I think that is a lesson for other studios is that if you do invest in it, and like even with obviously like now you may not be a Bungie that you may not be able to have the resources to be able to kind of continue on with that, but I think it's also like that's a potential like, hey, maybe you shouldn't necessarily look into that. But then again, like the landscape has changed. Like AAA gaming is not necessarily as sustainable as it once was when Bungie was working on Destiny, but I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned and a lot of lessons to a lot of things to avoid when trying to be able to create a game like and try to be able to create a success like a Destiny.
Now, I don't want to say I coined this phrase. I had heard this from a creator before, but it's essentially money can buy you the best developers in the world. Money can buy you, the greatest animations, whatever. It can buy you the best graphics. Money cannot buy you vision. At the end of the day, right? Like you have to have a vision for the game that you're making and for the studio or whatever it is. And in this case, I do like the vision that Xbox has. I think I like where they're going forward. I still, I have my own opinions about physical media and what's happening with digital media and everything. For as much as it seems that that's the road that we're going down, it's a hard pill for me to swallow. But at the end of the day, I think if we're looking at face value, it makes sense to bring games like Sea of Thieves, like Hi-Fi Rush, like Grounded, like Pentiment to other consoles. And it'll make sense in the future when they want to expand on that and bring even more games that are exclusive to Xbox to other consoles.
At the end of the day, if they have more players playing those games, that means we could potentially be able to get more expansions or sequels to those games. If you want a Hi-Fi Rush 2, support the fact that it's basically going to be on other platforms and other people are going to be able to play it.
And that's why, like, for as much as Halo should belong on Xbox or Gears should belong on Xbox, they just, in terms of sales, in terms of player count, they're not surviving like they should be. And now, granted, I'm not saying that this means that they're going to come to other consoles, but like, could something like a Halo Battle Royale that is available everywhere while allowing the campaign and the base multiplayer to still exist exclusively on Xbox, could that be something that all of a sudden like saves Halo?
It should be something they're building now, to be honest.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Hi,
but
Camille.
I don't think that's hello everybody.
Hello, Camille.
Hi. I don't think that's something that they should do right away. Like, I think whatever that next iteration of Halo and Gears still has to come out on Xbox. If it is something like a Battle Royale, maybe it's free to play. That has to live on Xbox for some time because it first serves that audience. Then as it goes and maybe the definition of who those games serve starts to change because they're great experiences, then it should come to other platforms. I don't think that's those two, like, and that's the thing, like Xbox IPs that are very well known, for being Xbox. I don't know if they can start on other platforms as well just yet.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Yes. Whenever Halo, whatever the next Halo is going to be, whenever it comes out, it should still be exclusive to Xbox. And they should still stick with, I think it was a really good plan, a really good idea to make the multiplayer this free-to-play thing that was available on PC as well, right? Let that exist for a year. Let that player base, let that those people who are loyal to the console enjoy and experience that exclusive to their console. Then when you start to see that Steam die down a little bit, boom, here's Invasions coming back. Here's a battle royale. And now multiplayer, these modes are available everywhere, But
I also think that these projects that we're kind of talking about, like whether it's on the Halo side, the Gears of War side, anything major like that, any kind of flagship franchise, they can be totally separate entities as long as, and I think that this should go for everything that Phil Spencer said during the business update, which were essentially two pillars here, which was community-based games and ones that are passion projects. And I think that if there is ever a time and place that a certain affinity can come out and say, we're working on a battle royale for Halo, that to me speaks community-based game and a passion project. And that in and of itself could be something that can land on PlayStation day and date along with Xbox, while Xbox still retains, we're Master Chief. We have Master Chief on our Xbox, packaging that we're delivering when you pick up a new console. Those two can be totally separate entities. The same way that, Gears Pop can exist on a mobile phone and Marcus Phoenix can still be on the Xbox packaging. Gears Tactics. I'm surprised Gears Tactics isn't everywhere. I think that game is a delight.
I love that game. That is such an sorely underrated game. It's a great RPG.
Well, that's a passion project. Halo Wars, exactly. Yeah. Those are games that can be invested in and thrive on other platforms without taking away what I think a lot of people on the Xbox ecosystem hold near and dear to them, which is the tent pole, right? They don't want to see Gears of War proper or Halo proper go elsewhere because they have a sense of ownership. I totally get that to a certain extent, but you can still kind of thrive, like have these franchises expand and go elsewhere.
So then with that, and you might have talked about this off the top because someone was late. So with that, were you happy or kind of disappointed? Because you, Steve, yourself said you wanted Phil to say the games that were coming. And we didn't.
I don't think he could have said the games due to maybe something with it. For example, there was rumor of a Nintendo Direct coming out,
right?
And maybe it's a contract being like, hey, okay, we're gonna do the announcement, and that's part of the reason why he can't talk about it right now. But go ahead.
Yeah, he did say we want to have the teams to basically to announce it themselves, and that makes sense. When you and I think especially if they're tied into potentially a Nintendo Direct and a partner Direct, which has been the rumor. I think that makes sense. And I think actually overall, I think it was a good presentation. It was a good conversation. Felt a little bit too PR speak to me, than necessarily a conversation, which is what I had hoped for. But
at times,
Phil was definitely very I think both Phil and Matt. I think it was Sarah kind of felt like that she was the one who wanted to kind of announce things, being because she was like, Diablo's coming to Game Pass March 28th. We've got hardware announcements coming in the holiday. And then both Phil and Matt were
they received the questions before. The questions
100%, totally. But
did they go? Did they?
Probably filmed it in one shot, but they had the questions in advance.
Oh, there were some hard cuts in that thing. I don't know if you guys.
Anytime they B-roll, 100% that was a cut in the conversation.
There was one question. Phil's like, I don't know what. I don't think that was part of the question.
I think though we have to give a major shout out to Tina Amini, who runs a lot of the production side over at Xbox. Any showcase has been for the past couple of years has been Tina, and she used to work at IGN. So shout out to her. But also So like she had some great questions, especially right at the beginning, being like, "And what about Starfield or Indiana Jones?" Like it just it felt like at least it could have been pre-approved answer or questions and answers, but to me I was like, okay, that is something that the gamers quote unquote have been at least have been wanting to know. Yeah.
Well,
but again, can we all agree?
Spearhead that immediately.
Can we all agree that Starfield, Indiana Jones, those were changed after public reaction, or do you think like that was
I think
never
they probably were talking about it. I think that's probably where those rumors that kind of came from, but I don't think that there was ever any like consistently.
I don't think it was definitive.
I think it was. I honestly,
but I don't think up until it had been leaked that it was a no.
I think it was on I think it was on the table, and when the stink came out, people were like, "All right, pull this off." Yeah,
right.
I think there is a metaphorical Bristol board somewhere in the Xbox office, maybe behind.
I hope it's foldable, like the science boards. Too.
Yeah, something like that, where there's like every single Xbox IP and property, and at certain points they just kind of reevaluate and say, okay, let's move it to the maybe section. Let's put it over here. Same thing with I'll go back to it, Blade. I mean, like there is a reason why they didn't come out and say this is an Xbox Game Pass title. This is an Xbox game. This is because it's this non-committal thing. Yeah. And Camille, going back to your question earlier about like how we're all feeling, I do appreciate that Phil Spencer did not use the phrase that I'm just so sick of, which is case by case basis. I at least appreciate the fact that in this time and place, in this, let's just call it like a 12-month window. I'm just guessing here. He said 4 games. That's it. That's the expectation here. It's not case by case. It's that we are committing to 4 games. Yeah, exactly, Riley. Immediate games.
Foreseeable future.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll kind of take it for here.
Yeah. So
now I know.
Can I read you guys a quote here from Phil? Through The Verge. I don't know. I don't want to derail the conversation.
Philly S. Let's say. What does Philly S have to say?
Philly S.
Big P.
Okay,
we
so
are considering.
Phil Spencer over on The Verge is quoted here in regards to Starfield and Indiana Jones, and if they'll ever come to the PlayStation 5. I don't think we should, as an industry, ever rule out a game going to any other platform. We're focused on these 4 games and learning from the experience. But I don't want to create a false expectation on those other platforms that this is somehow the first 4 to get over the dam, and then the dam's going to open, and that everything else is coming. That's not the plan today. He goes on to say, I also don't want to mislead customers on those other platforms. Sorry, I also don't want to mislead. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
You're on there, yeah.
Where am I? I also don't want to mislead other customers on those other platforms. We're launching these 4 games and we're excited about it. We're excited about the announce and everything else, but we'll see what happens for our business. Again, that feels very much like the case by case basis thing.
Saying the words
it almost sounds like he's kind of going back on what he was saying in that presentation. You know, this is him saying, listen, Starfield and Indiana Jones will be staying on Xbox, but this is what I was saying earlier. Sorry to cut you off, Camille, because we were talking about this earlier before you arrived. I said that yes, they're going to start with these 4 games. Of course, there's going to be more in the future, and it's all going to hinge on the level of success that they see from these 4 games coming to other platforms. If Hi-Fi Rush comes to Switch and comes to PlayStation, and all of a sudden the sales jump 3,000%, you're going to see more smaller games like Hi-Fi Rush come to PlayStation and come to Switch. If Sea of Thieves and Grounded come to the Switch or come to PlayStation, then all of a sudden these live service games end up growing massively in terms of their player base, you're going to see more of their potential live service games come to other platforms. It's definitely case by case. They don't want to say that out of the gate. But yes, there is certainly a future, whether like we're talking percentages, whether it's guaranteed, we don't know, right? But there's absolutely a future where Starfield and Indiana Jones could end up on PlayStation.
I also wonder,
that is a guarantee. We can't know right now.
Well, and I don't think, and that's why I don't think it was definitive. Like, no, we won't see these games on the consoles. I think it's speaking to the immediate future of these games, especially because they kept bringing up Minecraft as a perfect example of an Xbox game that lives on other platforms and how it's making money. So, I'm so distracted when you guys message in here. I'm just always like, what's going on?
We're talking shit.
Especially because I'm on my laptop and like I have something else on my other screen. But anyways, I don't know what you're messaging, so we're gonna check it out. Let's
you're good.
No, we also
nothing.
didn't even really talk about the chain of tweets from Xbox. Did we want to go over some of the other things that they had mentioned in that chain of tweets that they put out after this?
Well, I also wanted to bring up. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
But like, there's actually more Game Pass memberships out there than Xbox Series, and like if someone wants to confirm, there's 50 million PS5s. If these games are coming over in these 4, and people are like, "Wow, all these games are on the Game Pass. Maybe I should grab a Game Pass," type of thing. And I think that's clearly their strategy right now. Yeah. And like go right ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just going to bounce off actually both you and Caboose, what you guys were saying. And I think ultimately when we're looking at future plans, especially with Starfield, Indiana Jones, any kind of big tentpole in the future, I'm always going to be curious what Xbox's expectations are. With something like Sea of Thieves and Grounded, you can definitely tell, hey, they just want to boost player engagement for these games, keep the live service going, keep these games thriving with the community. With Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment, these are smaller games. You almost have to wonder, okay, are they just looking for a sales boost, or are they looking at it from like a Game Pass?
This is the first I'm hearing Pentiment, by the way. I'm just going to be honest.
So he kind of mentioned it, that these were smaller projects that they're hoping to share, grow the IP, but also like bring in some revenue that they can then reinvest. So that's the point of that. Like,
no, of course,
are not community based, but they are like they just want to make some money off it.
Right. I'm just trying to draw like a mental parallel to say like, okay, so if Hi-Fi Rush sells moderately well, let's say on Switch and PS5, I don't see how there's a correlation there for Xbox to now say, well, now it's Starfield's turn. Because those are two different games, two different scenarios.
Yeah.
Like you have to honestly look at. Again, I hate the term, but it is kind of case by case to say what is the ultimate objective if Xbox is bringing Indiana Jones to PlayStation. Is it worth giving up exclusivity just for sales, or is it bring players from PlayStation over to Game Pass? Like I just don't know if really Indiana Jones is doing that.
I think it really comes down to what is the return on investment that is a success for the studio, because they've got over 40 studios that are within Xbox first party. I mean, if you include basically everything from Bethesda to Activision, and so there will always be like again, I know you hate the phrase, Steve, but like on a case by case basis, and what is sort of what is like they're gonna have to. Like each game, they're going to have to take a look at. Okay, what is our success? Okay, we're going to take a look at a Hi-Fi Rush. We shadow dropped it. It worked great. The Xbox players loved it. But, hey, after about a year, it's, players have kind of tapered off, but we still think that there's more potential return on investment that we can be able to do. So they put it out on Nintendo Switch. They put it out on PlayStation 5. It could hit that lightning in a bottle, being like, could be one of the best third-party games on, say, the Nintendo Switch, because I think that's probably where they're going to see potentially their biggest success if that's where they're going to put it on. And that could be more of that return on investment, so that it could tell Tango Gameworks being like, hey, Hi-Fi Rush with the small team that you had, with like you're now profitable. Let's see, could we be able to maybe make this into a much bigger franchise than just a passion project? Because I think that's where they're looking at it. And like, could we see potential franchises that we could be able to build as Xbox? Because you got to think, Xbox has 2 big franchises, 3, I guess, if you count a Flight Sim. You got Halo and you got Gears. That's it.
Hey, put some respect on Forza. Come on.
Forza's a big one. Yeah.
All right. Okay, I'll give it to Forza 2. All right, I forgot about it. I will give it Forza 2. But that's 4 compared to say like you got Nintendo. You got Mario. You got Zelda. You got Kirby. You got Smash Bros. You got Mario Kart. Like there's all these big gaming franchises, and then you look at PlayStation. You got God of War. You got Last of Us. You got Horizon. Spider-Man. There are so many different like exclusive, or like basically that, like you think of PlayStation, you think of those games. You think of Nintendo, you think of those games. Right now, Xbox has an imaging of like they don't have those kind of games anymore.
And so that's what I was talking about optics.
So I think that like they can see that potentially that as a Hi-Fi Rush being like that could be our next big franchise if it sells well on other platforms.
I don't even think they're at that stage of franchise. I think they're at the stage of, look, our consoles aren't selling. The year after year, we put them out, and it's just not doing what we're doing. Yeah. We are now focused on cloud gaming. We're focused on getting our games into the hands of other players. I think that franchise is maybe 2 steps. And
that's, I mean, you're agreed. That's something that's definitely, down the road.
Yeah, and I think that's like something in terms of like how the success of it won't be necessarily these 4 games. I'm pretty sure they have like 3 phases of at least 8 games coming to other platforms in their pocket that they're holding on tight. So I don't think the first 4 games will necessarily be the test. I think it's successful. I think we're going to see these 4 games come out. Some of them will do probably well. I think overall they're going to see an increased user base. Like, it's just mathematically, how can't they? And it's just whether if that's at the point where it makes sense for, like I mentioned before, like the developers, how they're paying the developers to invest times of their developers to put the product on the other platform. Yeah. And then from there, I think we see a few years of that where then they're like, okay, maybe we take this back to Xbox where we could build out these franchises.
Right. Yeah. I think that basically what Xbox is doing, and this is where I think that the smartest thing out of all of this is that they're building multiple different strategies for that they could be able to utilize and basically like break glass and just be like, okay, this is the strategy we're going to go with for this game, and they can pivot at any given moment. Or that you could basically launch on Game Pass and then launch on Steam. You can launch on Game Pass and PlayStation or Nintendo Switch. You can launch exclusively on Game Pass. You can launch exclusively on the Xbox console. They are building these multiple strategies that basically help the developers and the studios to make the decision that is best for their game. If you look at PlayStation and Nintendo, what do they got? Nintendo, you're on the Switch. That's it. You're on our console. Like you don't like. There's nowhere else for you to be able to like. If you're a failure on the Switch, sorry, you can't. Like, we got nothing else for you. If you're on PlayStation, they're now opening up to PC, which is great. But before, it was just if you're a failure on the PlayStation console, that's it. Sorry, we got nothing. We got nothing else for you. So then the developers have to go like, okay, where else can I go
Jay's
to be able to do it? So Xbox is allowing their creators, which is something that they constantly use as the term for studios and developers, their creators to have to try to be able to get as much of a success of their game as best as possible. Because that's what all the developers want. They want as many people to play as possible, and Xbox is setting up all these different strategies. And I think, yes, you're right. The franchise is definitely like 2 steps down the line, and that could potentially be it. But I think that's part of one of the strategies that they can be able to create, so that creators can basically feel empowered to create the games that they want without having to worry about specifically sales numbers and return on investment for just being on one platform.
Well, that's what they're thinking, right? Like, I think you're absolutely right. It is kind of the future model of how, the big 3 game developers could potentially market games in the next 5-10 years. I do think what Phil said of like, this old model of exclusive titles on platforms is kind of done. I don't think we're quite there yet. I think, we're still going to see, like, you still have timed exclusives. So you're not going to see something like Death Stranding 2 available on PC, on day one. I don't think we're there yet. Nintendo games, who knows when it'll leave their platforms for others. But I do think that's the step, and that's the future that Xbox wants to see. And they're obviously willing to commit everything to do that because it makes sense of where their business is right now and what their business strategy is to help their business be more robust, right? So it definitely makes sense. Sammy, because you joined late though, I'm curious on what you think of like all of this.
Oh man, I'm still catching up. I'm reading little summaries on the side, seeing what people are saying. It's right now I don't have an opinion. I'm still catching up. I'm listening.
That's something I just wanted to say.
Actually, I just have 2 requests, but go right ahead, Riley. Sure. After that, go ahead.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So I don't, just building off Steve and Camille's conversation. I don't think they're being like as like open for the devs or studios quite yet. I think what they're actually doing is they've picked a handful of franchises that aren't going to damage hardware sales right now. And they're dipping a toe to see how far they can stretch it before they start seeing some of that erode. So like that's why Halo's not happening quite yet.
Yes.
That's why Forza's not happening. That's why Gears isn't selected. Like they could have put Master Chief Collection on that, no problem. But like it's what that symbolizes. So these things are like Hi-Fi Rush won't damage their hardware. Like Sea of Thieves at this point won't damage their hardware. Like these releases are communal based or they're smaller projects, so they're going to dip a toe. They're going to see what they're able to do with those, and they're going to see if there's a drop in Game Pass. They're going to see if there's a drop in hardware. So these things are it's very, very intentional as they kind of foray into third party publishing, which I assume will continue as sort of a pillar of their strategy moving forward to some extent.
Yeah.
What that extent is remains to be seen.
My one request is, can everyone make a shock face because everyone's here? We had to do it again.
What?
Perfect. Riley's even in it this time. Perfect. I like that. We got Riley. We got him in.
Into the bet.
Perfect. And the second thing is, another thing we also wanted from Xbox was more clarity and like a proper structure. And is that now? He mentioned like games over a year old. Is that the format we're getting now?
I would hope so. I think that's if we're gonna assume that even when we're talking about things like Starfield or Indiana Jones, bigger games of consequence, I think assuring players on the Xbox ecosystem that hey, you guys are gonna still get those exclusives for 12 months, maybe 16, 18, whatever. At least there's a window there where you can say, if I'm investing into Xbox and I'm buying a game day and date, or investing in Xbox Game Pass, it's still worth my money to have a console versus, if it is this nebulous thing of like, well, Blade could be out on Xbox in March, but then by June it could be on PlayStation. That's not reassuring to a player base that, hey, you should go out and buy the next Xbox. So I think if this is a future roadmap, if this is a committal thing that Xbox wants to have for the next 5-10 years, establishing the rule of if a game comes out on Xbox and Xbox Game Pass, it's going to live there for 12 months before it comes to PlayStation or Switch.
Yeah, I think that there will always be those games that essentially will help sell the hardware. I mean, it's the console sellers. It's so Starfield, regardless of what you thought of the game, that essentially is what Xbox was banking on as a console seller. And I'd be curious, like they haven't released the numbers in a while, but I'd be curious to see like what were the breakdowns as far as like people buying an Xbox Series X versus an Xbox Series S, because I would see like them looking at the Series S as a success because they were able to get those in stores really quickly in large quantities, and that's where people were buying them at a cheaper price than sort of the its counterparts. And they were saying like, oh, Starfield, it's going to be on Xbox, I'll buy a Series S, it's cheap, but I also get at Game Pass, oh, there's other games on here I can be able to play. I think a lot of those exclusives will be the things that will help sell the hardware. And then there's the outlying of like, hey, you want the best experience on you play it on Xbox hardware, or you just want to be able to play on the go, you'll be on Xbox hardware. I think that's kind of where I see those big kind of exclusives like a Starfield, like an Indiana Jones. But then there are those games that like a Hi-Fi Rush or a Pentiment or like a Grounded that essentially are like, yeah, you could buy an Xbox console to be able to play those, but you know what? Hey, you can be able to play them on anywhere, and it just kind of gives you an idea of like what you can be able to experience on Xbox.
Yeah, I
actually just wanted to interject one real quickly. There's been a breaking news. From Software is now the sole owner of the Elden Ring IP.
Oh,
good for them.
Purchased it from
they
Bandai
weren't
Namco.
before?
No, Bandai Namco owned it. So because of investments from Sony and Tencent, they were able to acquire that.
Wow.
IP, I had no idea. I thought that was them.
As they move towards the goal of self-publishing. So
good for them.
Oh, wow, cool.
So that is the content wars are here, folks.
Woo!
Here it comes.
And yet still no DLC still. I see. All right.
Shadow of the Earth Tree will continue to haunt my dreams until it comes out.
Go ahead, Camille.
And I think so there's two things. Like when I think this was an overall good podcast. Obviously, sorry, my laptop. Obviously reactionary, but my thing is I was a little shocked with the whole decision to have Game Pass solely on Xbox. like because they've been working with cloud gaming, when it was first iterations, it looked like they were trying to shop it around to other platforms to see if it's something they're interested
too already. So it's definitely like a for now type of thing. Like you can get it on the Meta Quest 3, like and Samsung televisions.
Logitech G Cloud has it. Yeah.
They want it everywhere. It's just I don't think Nintendo and Sony want it right now because they want to flesh out their own services.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing. It's like that's the only issue I kind of have with this podcast. It does seem like it is reactionary. It's very PR answers. It is the, case by case scenario where what Steve was saying, it doesn't really do we think it shifts things for the Xbox core gamer that was a little bit concerned?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Camille, and I think that because the key SEO takeaway,
she can hear you clearly now, Riley. I'm just saying.
The one thing I didn't like about this podcast is that Camille is on it, but no, I was just gonna say I think that's a really good point. Like, I don't know where I was going. What did you say? Where was I going? I just got the chirp in my head.
You just said I made a good point, and that's all that matters. Yeah. No, but honestly, I do think that the core Xbox fan, what is that selling point to invest in the next generations? That's going to be multi-year roadmaps for each iteration of the next Xbox.
And this was what I was trying to say.
And that's why it's like it was a great podcast, but was it successful in the objective to kind of settle those core gamers? I don't know. I'm on the fence.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say is the SEO takeaway right now is that Xbox games are coming to PS5 and Switch. Like I'm seeing all the articles now. That is the easy headline. That's the narrative that's going to be taken now because what they didn't do was clarify the 4 games. So now speculation is going to shift to what are the games, and it's going to be every game under the sun. We kind of have reports that we know what we kind of think they are. But like the narrative again is out of their hands because they didn't follow up and put down concrete plans.
That's why they absolutely should have just said what games were coming because it would have alleviated a lot of the worries. Listen, like us here, we saw VGC reported the 4 games, right? And we, as people that follow this stuff relatively closely, can kind of easily speculate based on what Phil was saying during that little podcast. Like we all immediately were like, Sea of Thieves, Hi-Fi Rush, right? Grounded, Pentiment, those were ones we were kind of like, oh, maybe. But now because they're relying essentially on like an outside source to be the one to report the definitive answer, that leaves everyone outside of the bubble to be like, oh my God, does this seriously mean like Halo's coming to PlayStation, Gears of War's coming to PlayStation, all my favorite exclusives are coming to play? Like what's a lot of the people who may be general consumers who may not know or follow the narrative as closely as we do are starting to doubt whether or not they should even own an Xbox. And I think that should be a very scary thing for Xbox. For as much as they're shifting some of their plans, for as much as they feel that it'll benefit them to play ball with Nintendo and PlayStation, if we're talking immediate future, like there needs to be a solid foundation for these plans to be executed in such a way that everything will, rising ships, right?
But and I absolutely agree with you, but I think they're willing to take that risk because of what we said before. Gears, Halo, Forza, now we're adding in there, the major IPs solely on Xbox, right? Like,
yes,
those already for years have not been enough to get enough gamers on Xbox consoles, right?
But without more of a definitive communication, it still would worry some people,
It is definitely worrisome, but I think they're able to take that risk because, and Phil mentioned back in December is when they kind of solidified these plans of like what these 4 games will be. So obviously, I think there's some truth to that. I think they probably knew a little bit before then as well. But, I think the risk that the return for them is much bigger having it on other platforms and maybe not being as clear and transparent, because that could also send another wave. Like you never know how core Xbox diehards or even just core fan bases could take information and then twist it and not actually, or media outlets can and not the consumers not going directly to the source material to know what it is.
I get what you're saying.
I get that. I would have loved though to be like, we would have wanted our developers to really celebrate the launches of these 4 games with how it was intended and planned to. But unfortunately, this is another unfortunate circumstance of leaks where you have to kind of get ahead of it. These are the 4 games that are coming out, and
think so.
Right now, I think they definitely should have done that, but they didn't. And that makes me, and like the thing is, I think they know we know, right? Like unless we don't know. So like,
I think it's the people who do know. I think it's the people who do know are like such a small number. I mean, the reason why that like this whole thing kind of came about, the fact that it's so much, like it's just a very small consumer base that are very vocal and toxic about this whole thing. I think it's like, yeah, we know, but not the general consumer may not know. They probably may not even think about like the 4 games that could potentially become. They just know, oh, hey, 4 games might be coming on other platforms. They may not even think might become a PlayStation or Nintendo Switch. They like when we're in it, I think it's like we got to take a little bit of a step back out of all of us. Now I'm just saying like specifically, but just everyone. It's like, hey, we're in this on the day-to-day basis. This is our jobs. This is what we do. So we're like, we understand the context of everything. But to the general consumer, that is like that is what I think this podcast was in a sense for. It's for the consumer that is like, here's an update on what Xbox is doing. We haven't talked in a while because they did say, Phil even said this was something that they had planned on doing for a minute, but this had to come out for, like in this format as it is now. So I think in a sense, what they were doing was, this is status quo. Status quo is the same as it was. We can't talk about the 4 games yet, but hey, 4 games are coming. By the way, Diablo 4 is coming to Game Pass on March 28th, and hey, we're also going to have some new hardware in the holiday. I think that's the kind of the 3 main takeaways that like generalizing over things. Did they answer everything that we wanted? No, but I think the people who were asking those specific questions that didn't get answered are people like us that are just into the day to day.
I think at the very least they touched on everything that we were curious about.
For sure.
I think that's the most important part.
Again, I want to emphasize that for all of us here, what they did for people who are following this, again, as closely as we do, it was very well said, very well put together, right? Yeah. But I mean, as you're saying, Steve Saylor, and this is the last point I wanted to make before I got to run. But as you were saying, Steve, this video was for the general consumer. It was for people who are worried, people who are like, should I still own an Xbox? And I'm sure in a lot of ways that it could calm down some of the things that would make you very worried about even wanting to own that piece of hardware. But again, for those general consumers, it can be a little concerning to not know what 4 games exactly are going to other platforms. Now, maybe if you're that overly concerned, you can go look it up, find that article from VGC, and then calm down, because those are all games that make a ton of sense to go to other platforms. Mm-hmm. But still, I feel like I'd understand if there were some people out there who are still worried. And as you mentioned, I mean, there's some toxic idiots on both sides, in every fandom. There's some toxic idiots on the internet who are going to spin this and turn this and warp this into something that it absolutely isn't. And that's just the unfortunate reality. But again, it just comes back to what I was saying about this is the uphill battle that Xbox has been fighting for over a decade now, right? Since they had made that mistake with the DRS, since they had come out and talked about the always online aspect of the Xbox One, from there, they started at the bottom of Everest, and they've been trying to make the climb ever since. And I think they've gotten to the point where they were halfway up and said, you know what? This is not what we should be doing. You know, we can't be the king of another console generation ever again. Like, that's it. So they needed to pivot. They needed to establish a new business plan. And this is that. And in some ways, I imagine it's going to work. In some ways, they're going to have to really test this out and see how it could work. But I look forward to the future of Xbox and whatever they got coming. I just hope that at the end of the day, that we're the ones who win. You know?
Yeah.
That's all we could only ever hope for. But with that said, I got to run, guys. Please keep the conversation going. I can't wait to listen to what everybody else has to say. This was great, and I'll see you guys next week.
See you.
Sounds
Bye,
yeah.
everybody.
I think
Bye.
what's bye, Caboose? I think what's more interesting is like no one is talking about that. They're talking new hardware at the end of the year being revealed
Right away. Well,
Mm.
I guess
Yeah.
they just want to confirm that they're committed, right?
But
Yeah.
the thing, they're confirming that's committed, but it's like we've had rumors. Well, now that it's like PS5, is at the end of its life. I can't even
The
say it
latter
because
half.
it's just
Ladder half. Not
like
yeah.
what does that like? Dude, anyways, what happened during the blip? Anyways, a crisis on my part because I don't understand how time is passing so fast. But with that coming up, the rumors of a Switch 2 or the successor to the Switch, and new hardware from Xbox coming or being revealed at the end of the year. This is exciting. This
So
is like
It is
Oh,
exciting.
I think it's twofold. One being, the Switch 2 is the immediate thing that everyone kind of wants to latch onto. That's the thing that's driving a lot of excitement. The other thing, specifically talking about, more so the Xbox and PlayStation side, a lot of people are already like, what the hell is this generation even about? Like we basically haven't even gotten started.
It's like we just started, to be honest.
Yeah, so it already feels like, oh, they're talking about a new console, a new thing. Like who cares? Like we haven't even tapped. Like to me, it feels like we haven't even tapped out on the potential of this. I'm just reading another story from VGC where Sarah Bond was speaking to them and talking about their upcoming piece of hardware, and she said, "quote We're really focused on their." And what we're really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation. To me, I'm like,
big, bold thing
I don't care. I don't
Christ.
care because listen, you're like games can't even run at a consistent 60 frames per second right now. So
Yeah.
unless you're willing to come out and say,
Riley
couldn't
couldn't run HellDivers yesterday.
but that's what I mean. Like the advent of
3
better
frames per
tech,
second.
better consoles right now just don't really mean all that much when
You're not utilizing
I don't think we're at the end. Like, I don't think they're going to reveal the next Xbox. I think what we are going to see is because she says in a console generation. I think it's like
hardware
going
generation.
to be in a hard. Did she say in a hardware generation?
That's the quote. Yeah.
It'll be like a
I think-
massive leap in tech. Yeah, allegedly.
See, but like, is this like? Is this still the Series X, just another iteration of the Series?
I think this is.
I think
this is literally the.
Yeah.
I think it's literally
be a pro version,
It's
you know?
equivalent to. It's like I said this in the when we were reacting to it, but I think this is the equivalent to when Xbox released the Xbox One's X and S. This is what I believe will be. It's like it's just an iteration of the same Series X and S that we have, just a little bit more either powerful in regards to Series X size or a little bit more versatile on the Series S. That's where I think that's where we're going with until they get into the next console generation. And I know you're all thinking like we just kind of got the console like sort of started, but if you think about it, technically it's been around for 4 years, so it's a little bit past the halfway point. Now, granted, there was a period of time, obviously, for PlayStation, Xbox, that you couldn't buy these consoles because they were hard to buy the first year or two.
And that was the reason why the S is so popular as well, because the X was impossible to
They
get.
actually had it on shelves.
Yeah.
Sure, but if you think about it, we're already kind of just past that halfway point of a regular console cycle. If we sort of think of the console cycle within 7 years, and if they're committed to still making hardware as much as like obviously PlayStation will, Nintendo will, and Xbox will, I think this new hardware, sure, that's a big, bold statement to make. It be the most powerful, like iteration in hardware for them. I'm like, sure, I'll believe it when I see it, but
well, in a hardware generation, which would include what we see with PlayStation, in my understanding of like what she's saying as well. But like alongside with what you're saying, yes, we are in that halfway point of a console generation. But I think that's also on like us and the world and what was going on. Like, I'm pretty sure there were limitations of what they wanted to do because of like hardware chips that were available and like trying to mass produce a console in, when the world went on hold. And I think, maybe, and it's disappointing, obviously, as a consumer, because I feel like we definitely have not gotten like a real feeling of a generation here yet.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe on the business side, it makes sense to say, hey, we were kind of limited with what we could deliver because of all these different factors. It makes sense to take what we've learned here, take what we've experienced or wanted to do, because they probably plan 2 generations ahead, so they know exactly where they want to go, and move on to that, instead of dealing with, and we've seen this from other platforms, dealing with limited hardware, or hardware that has limitations on the developers, has limitations on how consumers are playing their game in full experience that these developers want to give players. So I think it does make sense. It is just a bummer that this generation, and there are memorable games, but just not as much when you look through the previous generation, just doesn't feel like a full generation yet. And I know I'm talking as though it's all coming to an end, but I am preparing myself, because I feel like even like when we look at PlayStation and what they're doing when we looked at that direct and kind of what we wanted to hear, we didn't get those, like, okay, what's Naughty Dog doing? And I don't think it's necessarily because things are in the work. I think there are business decisions that are happening that are just like, let's put this on hold for the next console generation.
Yeah. No, that's a great point.
That's definitely a great point. I just, there is definitely the aspect of like, okay, we also had like during this console generation, like once in a century pandemic. And so that's like, I think that's kind of where it warps our brains into thinking it's like, oh, it's a shorter, like, it doesn't seem like it's a great console generation. And you're right. Like when it comes down to it, comparing the different consoles, generations that we've had, this probably will be seen as maybe the weaker year, depending on, which console you look at. I mean, I think that if you look at PlayStation from 2017 to 2020, they were hitting on all cylinders in regards to their games, and launching even into the PS5. We've got some really like amazing games that are on there. But I think, as we're sort of looking at potentially, we're now, like, as they said earlier this week with PlayStation, that they're looking into the latter half of their generation, and they're looking ahead into the next console. This is something that I'm kind of in a way disappointed about, because I had thought that essentially that the idea of the cycle of the console generation will be kind of over to a certain degree, because it's like, it's not sustainable. I mean, we all know it. Like, hardware is not what is not like these companies, they don't make money off of their hardware, if any. Like unless you're a big hit like a Nintendo Switch, where they sell over 100 million units, and now ranking as potentially being the most sold console ever. It's like, when you have a hit like that, sure, you're going to make a profit. But I think that's a once in a couple generation sort of thing. And I had hoped that essentially, like, that with this announcement, and now that's with Sony potentially going multi-platform, that essentially we're going to kind of start to see a little bit of like a slowing down of the constant 7-year cycle of a console generation.
Well, I think the reason why, sorry, Sammy, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna like change the topic a little bit. So if you want to add on to Steve.
I'll just add on. Like, it is disappointing, because I think, like, us as core gamers, and again, like Steve, you mentioned that perspective of like, we're in it, we breathe it all the time, because this is the industry we work in. It is very disappointing to see that, like, that we're still going on this 7-year cycle, especially on how PC is performing and how PC gamers access games, and the delivery of those games on PC. But there is that casual market there that still plays big for, and like, it may not play big in terms of the amount of sales, because I totally get what you're saying with consoles, but it plays big in terms of getting the brand awareness, understanding that, what PlayStation is, what Xbox is. Without those consoles in maybe a more casual audience hands, the awareness of like what these are, it starts to become niche again. The gaming is for a niche audience, because if you're a casual gamer, you're probably not going to be putting together a few $1,000 PC, right? So I think consoles are still important, or cloud gaming, but cloud isn't where it needs to be in order to fully market it to a casual gaming market that probably grew up with consoles. Yeah, like,
that's
give
totally
it 2
fair.
years, maybe.
That's totally fair.
With all the updates that have come out, and so today with Xbox, with PlayStation, with the rumors with Nintendo, as a general consumer, who are you most confident in with buying like a new console? Because like right now, I probably wouldn't buy an Xbox. I'd probably go more towards like a Nintendo because I feel like the future is a little bit brighter for that console versus like everyone else.
I've always been in that category of like Nintendo and PC. Like I have an Xbox due to like just a very, very few games, and those are games I wanted to play, which is like the NHL series, because EA just refuses to put their sports games on PC for some reason when they all start off on PC. But like, there's just very few games that I'm like, well, I don't really need an Xbox for it.
Yeah,
I just play it on PC, and then I also have the benefit of Game Pass on top of that. So I have, I get, and then I just wait for PlayStation for when they bring their stuff out, really. So which I have no problem with, because there's so many other games out there already on top of that. So
that's a very tough question, even for me to be able to answer, because I'm very much on the console side. I mean, I have a gaming PC and I do enjoy it, but I don't play on a lot of games on it as much as I do on console. And PlayStation has always been kind of like the exclusives that are on PlayStation I'll play on there. But the Xbox had always been that whatever console exclusives are there, plus also all my third party, all the games that are available on multi-platform. That's usually where I generally install the most. So it's tough. I used to be able to say, like, hey, when people are sort of like asking me like, okay, which console should I get? I always tell them, okay, break down a list of all the games you want to play on both consoles, write them both down, eliminate the ones that are on both consoles, and then one has the most exclusives, get that. But now with potentially that
it's all changed up.
It's all changed up.
Yeah.
As far as confidence, for stability wise, as much as I'm probably maybe one of the bigger Xbox fans here, I don't know, but I've been with Xbox kind of for 20 years. I am an Xbox MVP technically, and I was, when that program was still around, an Xbox ambassador. I probably would say for stability reasons, I have more confidence in potentially the PlayStation hardware, but I will still always invest in Xbox. And I think that that is where I will always play majority of like any game that I play that is not exclusive to specific platforms.
I think for me, it's like
go ahead, Camille, please. Yeah.
I think like similar to you, like I'm trying to like take Camille out of this equation, because like I'm in a very fortunate scenario, especially working in this, where I own a gaming PC. I have Xbox. I play a lot there.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Yes, you did it!
I missed it.
No, it's okay. It's recorded.
Clip it.
Yeah.
But like, oh my gosh! Now I want to cut off my hands.
I'm so proud.
Jeez. Anyways, but anyways, yes, I'm very fortunate where I'm able to have a gaming PC. I'm able to have an Xbox. I'm able to have a PS5 and also the Nintendo Switch. I'm trying to take myself out of the equation as a regular consumer, just looking at the market. I would say the confidence definitely would be in the Nintendo Switch, just because those IP are legacy IPs. The Nintendo Switch hardware has, maybe I'll wait for whatever the next iteration of the Switch is, just because
it might change your mind. They might regress back to the Wii.
No, I would still, even with not seeing what that is, I would still invest in it, because I've seen the success and how long they've served the Nintendo Switch. And I think
I like the direction of the company. Yeah,
exactly.
Like,
and I think for like having this console that is so old, but still having the best game, in my opinion, come out on it, last year, it just shows the dedication to a console generation, and that's why I would invest in more of a Nintendo hardware.
And we actually mentioned earlier, like Nintendo kind of,
if I was a regular consumer.
But like Nintendo kind of like starts trends as well. Like they had the handheld gaming, and now everyone seems to be in that market right now as well. So I wouldn't be surprised wherever they come up with next, if it's hopefully they kind of have like a pattern, like they have like a hit and a miss. Hopefully this next one won't be a miss, and it could be like another trend center as well. So we'll see what Nintendo has in store. But I feel like they kind of just do their own thing. Like, we're gonna go and do this, and if you want our games, you got to tag along along the way with it. So.
Steve, what were you saying? Because I did cut you off too.
Yeah.
No. I was just going to chime in with my own, spiel about this whole thing, because much like Steve Saylor was saying, I'm in a position where I have a gaming PC, Switch, PlayStation, Xboxes, and everything. So I do have that. I'm very fortunate in my position within the industry, so I can kind of choose where I want to play. But that being said, I mean, I do have the most investment in the Xbox ecosystem. It's where, you know, since my formative young adult years, that's where I grew up playing and everything. That's where my friends are and everything. If you asked me a year ago, I would have said buy an Xbox, invest in Xbox Game Pass. I think the value proposition there is unmatched, in my opinion. And if you ask me that, you're asking that same thing today, and I don't think my opinion changes whatsoever. I still see the value proposition there as being the best in gaming. I still think that if you're a person who is out there looking for a one console with many different options of what you want to play, how you want to play, who you want to play with, Xbox has you covered there. The only thing that I think that was added by this business update today from Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, and Matt Booty was the confidence in saying, hey, we're going to continue making hardware. So if someone is investing in the Xbox game ecosystem today, they still have that runway. They still have at least, you know, another another generation, which if we're going on today's trends, another 7 years when that console comes out. So you're looking at, you know, 10 plus years of Xbox, you know, console support. So I think that, yeah, if you're like me and you want to play like a vast array of games, Xbox, I think it would be my recommendation. But if you're looking just for, you know, that core cinematic third person experience, I think PlayStation has that in spades, but I think that Xbox has really everything else. The online component, the community component, I love the ecosystem in terms of, you know, getting achievements and jumping into party chats. I think that whole process is so much streamlined. And so you guys can call me an Xbox shill. I don't really give a shit, but that's just my opinion on it, you know.
No, actually, forgive me. I'll just add on to that because, yeah, I think that's the key there is that Xbox is creating an ecosystem that I actually do enjoy. It's something that it allows me to connect to the community, plus also be able to connect to my games at any given point. I think that's the thing for me that I'm more interested in than necessarily having to be able to rely on the hardware side. Right.
And I also want to add that they're only one so far that was talked about like preserving your library as well. Like, yes, you know very well Nintendo has no problem being like, here's Ocarina of Time for the 8th time, you know, or
and I'll play it every
and I will play it every time too. But like they're the only ones who are like, but like they're the only ones stepping up. Yeah, the only ones stepping up, like being like over, you know, trying to find the best routes to make our consumers happy, which I also commend them for doing as well. So, Riley.
I don't know, like, am I supposed to look at it from my perspective or try to be objective about it?
Objective.
Okay, so
objective, personal. Yeah.
If you weren't in the gaming industry, essentially.
Objective, but through your eyes.
Yeah. Objective, but subjective.
I don't know. I think but through Stevie V's eyes.
Because for me, like learning about it, I don't think it changes the value proposition of Xbox. I think it actually enhances it. By making, if Hi-Fi Rush drops for $40, let's say, like the value proposition is there for Xbox, so the Xbox console makes the most sense. From a consumer standpoint, this is going to be absolutely how the media spins it and the reception to that. Because a general consumer reading that's going to be like, cool, okay, well then I'll just buy a PlayStation because Halo will end up there eventually. Like, so I don't know how it's going to land yet. I don't know how it's going to be received. I know we know what's happening, but communicating that is like, I don't know. I get shades of the Wii U launch. It's not that bad. But like, stick with me for a second. Is that people didn't know if it was like an accessory or a new console. They didn't get it, so they didn't buy it. So like, I don't know how it's going to land. Yeah, like people. They thought the tablet was an accessory. So, I don't know how it's going to land. So I don't know what the optics will be for the general consumer yet. I'll have to do like an SEO poll and see what everyone's saying and thinking.
Stop it. Oh my gosh, just tell us.
Consumers aren't pulling
fun.
SEO
Just
metrics.
No, but I will. To see what they're seeing.
No, he's right. You know, an SEO is basically what people are searching
What-
for.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
kind of a considered.
Yeah, like, that's
A little
general-
social
Let me-
listening moment.
Like, let's be honest with the general consumer. All they care about is saving money. And
Yeah,
what's the
what's
best?
cheapest?
What's
Yeah.
the best way to save
I-
money?
well,
Get
I-
a Series
I get
S and
it.
get Game Pass.
And
Yeah.
just like
That's it.
everyone is saying, Game Pass is the best value in gaming.
Like, I would
I
like.
think that goes
I'm more
without saying.
intrigued to see where the numbers of Game Pass go more than Xbox sales. To be honest, like the fact
Oh,
that
big time.
there's
Yeah.
there's more
I think
Game Pass
so.
membership than Game Pass consoles out there right
I would
now.
think, yeah,
is
because
very
Phil Spencer
it's something
said I
to
think
see.
there's 34 million.
34
Yeah.
million is what I wrote down here. Yeah,
So
and like
that's
Xbox
fine.
sales
Like,
is
that's
21
okay.
million
They're
right
gonna
now.
They're going to want to scale that meaningfully, and it sounds like they're relying on the EU to kind of make some smartphone changes that will allow them to put a marketplace on mobile phones,
iPhone, yeah.
which would increase that. So I think that once that door opens, that can grow meaningfully. Anyway, I'm getting back. My personal choice, I would go Switch probably. I think they have a good vision. I mean, maybe not yet because maybe they have a new hardware coming out, and then you pick that up and you're set for 7 years if the life cycle.
I can
you know,
pre-order
kinda
it. I can
maintains
pre-order it when again, rather.
I don't know, man.
Oh,
I don't know. They won't tell me that. They won't tell me that. But you know, hopefully we get to see that, and I would recommend that at that point. But also, like right now, PlayStation's rocking. Like if some of the games are coming there, like that's pretty good too. But I love Xbox and I love the value proposition. That's why I like each of them. Like they each do something different.
Yeah.
Like, they're all a little different. So I kind of like the niches that they have. Like I love playing HellDivers with you guys. Like that was so much fun. Like I don't know. Right now I might lean PlayStation, but I also love Nintendo, and I'm excited to see what they have. Xbox is the best value. I love it all. So it's
come
really
to the
tough for me to
PC
pick.
side and then get
Yeah,
a
I was
Switch.
just
Yeah, you get it all, I guess.
Come
I
on,
was
come
in a
on in.
situationship with every
what?
console out there.
I can't commit.
Yeah.
The problem with
Yeah.
being a PC user is like, okay, like sure we have to wait longer, but like we really get the full experience. And like my PlayStation is essentially just like the Last of Us machine because like that's all I used it for. Is to just play it.
The
as
disc
soon
won't
as
even come out.
possible.
Actually, it's been stuck for years.
Oh man! And what if the next one doesn't even have a disc?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool for PC players when every console game comes over and it's broken.
Yeah.
Awesome user experience right there. I mean, instead you guys could just buy, like a real gaming piece of hardware
It's like
and
you
just
helped
play it
make
day
it.
and date. Yeah.
Got to beta
Yeah.
test it
The
yourself.
hardware that was developed for gamers by gamers.
Buy gamers, yeah. Put that on the box. Yeah,
I was
exactly.
kind of curious, and this might derail the conversation. I apologize, but I was kind of curious because we're talking about because they did say that 38 million or 34 million
34.
Game Pass subscribers.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think of like, okay, where was PlayStation and all this, and they haven't updated in about a year. So this is as of like June of last year. They were over the PlayStation Plus members are like 47.4. But majority of that is PlayStation Plus Essential, which a lot of the original PlayStation Plus members had like basically kind of were opted into. PlayStation Plus Extra was 6.1. PlayStation Plus Premium is 8 million, whereas PlayStation Plus Essential is 33.3. So obviously, probably has increased a little bit since then. But I mean, there probably could be a lot of people like myself that was on Premium, but I went back to Essential because I ain't paying that $200 price tag or whatever it is now. So I think it's
Essential again. I really should pay attention to my automatic bill.
Yeah, you probably should because they probably charge you a lot more than you think.
You've been paying $500.
How much is Essential per membership? I'm just trying
Essential
to
is still, I think, the original, like what the original PlayStation Plus price was, like around like $80.
Yeah. So like, I think it's like $15 or $19 a month or something like that. Right.
20-ish, I think now.
Oh my
PlayStation Plus Essential is $12.
Okay, that's a lot better. A lot better.
Sorry,
Maybe-
wait, what?
Oh,
yeah,
that's
12
American.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So it's $12 for Essential. Extra is $17.99. Premium $21.99 for a month.
Steve, you gotta,
month.
Steve, you gotta check your billing.
What are the tiers of Game Pass though? Like they have Core, which was rolled into because they axed Xbox out of Gold, and that became Core. So that's some growth in that measurement for Xbox as well.
That's wild that you're paying that much for PlayStation and none of it's on PC. Where Xbox, you're paying the same amount and you get it on PC.
Well, again,
true.
that's the best value in gaming, right? Is really with
Like,
Game Pass.
what?
It goes across the board, different platforms, right?
And I know people complain about launchers. I will gladly just take a PlayStation launcher, just put your game there. I'll be happy. You know, like.
Well, I think that's probably what we're heading
but the
towards.
thing
I mean, they literally
Make it happen now.
Sorry, just to go back to Riley's point quickly.
Yeah.
$11.99 for Core, Game Pass Core. $18.99 for PC Game Pass, and I wonder if that's Ultimate as well. I assume that's Ultimate.
Yeah, it is Ultimate.
Ultimate too, yeah.
Ultimate 18 as well.
Yeah. So they were also very smart right before all this acquisition nonsense to get rid of that $1.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was,
Well, that $1,
for,
yeah.
3 months, whatever. Yeah.
Crazy that
bad.
they got away with that for so long.
Wait,
Yeah,
right
but the
now
great thing
on
is that those codes
Xbox.com, it's $1 for 14 days right now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Before it was
That
like
makes sense.
3 months or something.
Yeah,
Something
it
where-
was 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I
But
loved it because I used to
worked,
get
right?
a bunch of those and just stack
They
multiple
acquired.
numbers.
Yep.
That was a business strategy that worked,
Yeah.
right? That's how they
Yeah.
got to the 33.3 at the end of last year. Users on Game Pass, right? Or 34.
Get everyone
is what Paul
on.
said.
Then when it
Exactly.
auto subscribes, everyone forgets and goes, "Oh crap! There goes
Amazon-
my
that-
$12."
That's the Amazon trick right there. You know,
Yeah.
with Prime. So.
But then with that, like that is so impressive for it's something that you're not necessarily roped out into immediately when you sign up. Like it is a choice to. Well, actually, you need it for an online game. No, right? Because they got rid of
I'm
gold,
sorry?
right?
No, you still
not-
need
not-
it for online.
You still need
play.
for online.
You
Yes.
still need it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
Core
that's what
is
I-
essentially just
Multiplayer.
well, no, it's Xbox Live Gold plus the a la carte Game Pass,
that's-
which is
yeah, yeah.
you get like Halo, Gears.
Right. It was like 100.
Forza.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
you get like very
essential, yeah.
specific.
and then
Yeah.
online functionality.
Well, and,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. I don't think that model is necessarily going to go away where you're going to be roped into these things that like, and that was what we were seeing with Gold and I can't remember what, and Live, right? And what we're still seeing on PlayStation, right? So for PlayStation, it's worked. They have 47 million users that have PlayStation
Yep.
Plus, right? So it's like, it works. It's a strategy that works. I think it's just understanding now, like, to me, like, it's very clear what Xbox is trying to do. They're trying to shake up their business and how they do business. But then I'm still brought back to the question of like, how are they going to win business? And I think it's because we were kind of brought up in the old days of like thinking of this console war and like Xbox is beyond that now. It's like they have so
It's
many
not about selling
successful
hardware.
things going on. It's not about necessarily the competition because they diversified more than the competition. Obviously, the competition will always play a piece of different aspects to their business strategy, but I don't think it's the overall what they're trying to take away from their business strategies. Like we want to be the best like gaming platform. I think it's just they want to offer more games to gamers and have maybe their games live on like just everywhere, right? And that was clear from the launch of the Xbox Series X. So I do have a question though, because we didn't hear Marcel and Sammy what they wanted to. If you were the consumer, as a consumer, would it be PC?
I'd
For
say
you,
PC,
Sammy?
yeah.
I'm definitely more comfortable with PC, but I'm most
2,000?
excited.
You would spend a few thousand
Listen.
as a casual, like a regular casual consumer.
I mean,
Yeah, but they
Listen.
could get. But that's the thing. It's like you're spending a few thousand to be able to get more than just
Like
technically
everything.
a
But
game.
there's
Yeah.
still membership. No, there's still memberships that you have to sign up for and be a part of.
Sometimes.
A membership,
always.
that's it.
Yeah.
Game Pass,
I feel
that's
like
what I
it needs
mean.
a
You have
lot
to
more
buy.
flexibility.
No games you have to buy.
Listen,
Game
if I
Pass.
want to play with a controller, I just got to plug in my USB and I can play on controller on my PC games.
PlayStation can't do Microsoft Word. I mean,
Yeah.
there's your
Yeah.
selling feature.
I can't get Clippy on PlayStation.
Oh my
Exactly.
goodness, yeah.
I just wanted to add another thing. Famitsu magazine is reporting that Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded are all going to Switch.
Okay. Oh,
Wait, who just
okay.
announced that?
Grounded on
Uh,
Switch? Yeah, okay.
Famitsu magazine.
Famitsu?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But that's the
Grounded
thing,
on
it's
Switch
like-
is weird. And well, I mean, if you think about it, Sea of Thieves too. 'cause
Sea of
like-
Thieves on Switch
Yeah.
is weird. Yeah, if they can get that
Do you
running,
think-
they'll breeze.
Maybe
through
the
Grounded
new
for me,
Switch.
That has to be the
Maybe
new
it's the new one.
Switch.
Yeah, I
And
would
Yeah.
maybe
imagine.
that's why.
And maybe that's why he couldn't
that's
say
why
it.
He couldn't say like, and maybe because it is less out of the control of his team, like the Xbox studios under those that are developing those games, and more on the third party partnerships. Like they're not ready to announce those games yet. My thing is, Grounded actually makes the most sense on the Switch. I'm just surprised, and like I would have wanted to see a PlayStation collab. Here. But it does make sense. It would all
Famitsu
come
is mentioning
to
those titles
Nintendo
by
if
name,
that is
though.
true.
Yeah.
So
I
think they
wonder.
might be doing
I wonder if maybe because I don't think that. I wonder if maybe they're not necessarily running natively. I wonder if they are running like cloud streaming.
Maybe.
Because if that's the case, because we've never really had a Xbox specific cloud streaming. Like essentially, I kind of would almost imagine that it would be the same technology, or at least the same servers as xCloud, as cloud gaming, which could give that hardware. Basically allows you to be able to play a Sea of Thieves like that. I mean, it sucks. Essentially, you kind of have to always be online in order to be able to play it. But I mean, that's the same. Like if you want to play Sea of Thieves, you have to kind of do that anyway. So I'm wondering if maybe that's a strategy they're going with.
The only thing I see that could be tricky there is then you're having to explain to the Nintendo Switch community you have to buy Game Pass, because right now that is the only way to invest in cloud gaming as far as I'm concerned.
Or no, I think it's probably like it would be like a situation where it's like it's
Or
running
how
off
Control was.
It's running off of Xboxes and Microsoft servers than necessarily like the
Yeah.
Nintendo sort of a infrastructure kind of thing. That's kind of where I'm thinking of. It's more of like a back end kind of deal, which would potentially make it like those games may run better than say like Hitman that they did try to do for cloud gaming on
And
Switch.
it makes sense as well, like with when those rumors they were shopping around cloud gaming, trying to work with, or actually Phil said like talking to other platforms on how to because cloud they really did see as the future, right? So that makes sense, Steve.
Like maybe these are also like the reason why you couldn't mention it, because like I don't know, I can't see like two of these games running on the Switch properly, and I already know there's already like a stink with on like streaming games such as like Resident Evil and Control that was on the Switch. People didn't really care for those, and I really think these are probably just games that might be launching on the new Switch, which is the part
maybe
reason
that's why.
and that's why he cannot say. And once because it's also like contract. There's so many contracts that are happening, and maybe Nintendo wants to do in their own wording as well. Maybe Phil shows up in a direct one day and be like, "Oh yeah, hey, these games are coming."
Well, who knows?
As well, you know, and like these are just things that have already been set in stones, which is why you can't be like mentioned on the podcast. They just did.
Well, yeah,
And
right.
if
Like they could reveal the console and be like, "Here's someone playing it, playing Sea of Thieves in this one segment right here, and here's and then we get over here and there's a new Mario game." Like I don't know, like that seems like an easy one. They did it with Skyrim in the original Switch reveal. So
Well, and
maybe like a
that's the
Mario
thing,
themed ship, you know, Bowser ship and Sea of Thieves.
that
You
is
know?
so cool.
That's
Bowser
it.
So-
Bowser
Bowser
ship.
ship.
It is
That's such
rare.
a good
A Bowser
call.
ship, just
is
saying.
rare.
Rare.
It is
Oh my
rare. They
God.
have always
You
had
guys
a good
are
relationship with Nintendo.
Just saying, man.
Don't Steve.
DK,
Don't do
DK,
this.
King K rule, King K rule, man. Come on, it's right. It's all there.
Nintendo, please.
It's all
Phil
there.
did say that it
We're
would
going
make
to
sense
Donkey
once-
Kong Island.
I'm right.
But Phil,
Yeah,
that would
like
never
the big
happen.
Donkey
I don't
Kong
think that
head?
would happen.
Oh.
But the Donkey Kong head, I could see that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! if they-
I'm sorry,
so good.
Riley. I have to bring it up. We
Oh,
can
no.
see potentially a banjo.
Don't Steve. that. I hope.
This
that's
June.
one game-
Wait, the Switch is coming. I always said Switch is coming September, but June could also be that time you announce all that stuff. Just saying.
Well,
It's
and
June
I think
showcase.
that would be a great
Really
time, but
Yeah.
Nintendo never really sticks to what we expect. So I
Yeah,
also see
Nintendo's
it coming
gonna
after
Nintendo.
that. But
Yeah.
then, like, I think Phil said it in the podcast. Like, it'll make sense when you know what games it is, and I think that if these rumors are true, that completely makes sense as to why he couldn't say it, and he's kind of like just his arms are tied in trying to give us information, but not breaking contracts and not breaking
I also
industry
think-
news. That it is
I
not. That is not
I-
Xbox's.
Yeah, I think he's telling like a half truth too, because like we're seeing some classic Rareware titles appear on NSO.
Yep.
So I could see some more Xbox Game Studios titles that are not really, like selling Xbox hardware, or maybe even available on Xbox hardware.
Battletoads.
Yeah.
Battletoads.
Even if we talk about
Big Time Racing, Perfect Dark, Banjo-Tooie.
Was there any record of like growth from when Banjo was announced for Smash or Xbox?
In terms of what do you mean? Growth?
Like sales? Yeah. You remember how like Sakurai was like, if you want to play these games, they're all on Xbox.
I don't think Xbox reported anything though.
No, I'm sure.
Or like
sure
even at least on the Japan
like,
side, 'cause I know that's a market they're always suffering in. But like, was there like an Xbox like spike in Japan due to that? I believe. I'm gonna look this
I think
up.
there was actually.
Yeah.
I think at retailers there was.
I believe there was like a mild. People were like,
yeah.
"Oh, what's this game?" Let me go find out. There was like a mild like Xbox growth due to that.
Yeah, I think so. Because Sakurai came on his thing on a Nintendo broadcast and was like, "If you want to play Banjo-Kazooie, buy."
And everyone listened to Sakurai. He's like, "If he's saying it, I gotta go get one right now."
That's still the strangest like subsect of like Nintendo promotional materials to me, where Sakurai just comes out. He's like, "Here's my gaming setup. I got a PlayStation. I got an Xbox. I'm like, what? Like Nintendo's just cool with that you showing all that? It's like, yeah. So Banjo-Kazooie, they're owned by Microsoft. Kind of crazy, right? Anyway, if you want to play the original, buy an Xbox. That's where it is. And
it's Sakurai. He kind of get away with anything.
He kind of does, right? And that's like the one Nintendo franchise where there's super like, we don't care, Sakurai.
I mean, if you think about it, it's the Smash Bros was Nintendo's biggest games as a service success.
Yeah. I mean,
it's
definitely one of the longest standing. Total marketing machine?
Was it better than? Well, I guess like
Fire Emblem Heroes, which generated $1 billion in revenue. The gacha game.
Did it really?
Oh,
yeah.
$1 billion. It's still
it was huge for Nintendo.
It's still huge.
No wonder
Mario
they keep
Kart?
shoving Fire Emblem down our throats.
What's a live service strategy for Nintendo? Hopefully not.
I think that's their strategy essentially, is to constantly keep supporting it and just keep having people buy passes. That they're just going to get these.
I think that would be good. I think they could do something similar for Mario Kart if they wanted to in the next one. Like,
I
mean, they got the Pokemon people with Pokemon. They got Pokemon for Pokemon Bank. I just paid for it. I was like, wait, I'm paying for Pokemon Bank? I just paid for it recently. You need I don't want to lose them. I can't lose them.
They got you. They got you now. No, I think if they can do like Animal Crossing, Mario Kart, and Smash Brothers all lend themselves perfectly to that sort of premise. So if they wanted to keep releasing passes annually
and whatever's next for Smash.
I hope we get something. We're getting the Spirit events, so I hope it's a sign that something's coming.
I can't believe Spirit events are still going. That's wild.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why, like, if I was an outside consumer, I'd probably invest in the Switch. Just they're still updating their games. They will never die.
There you go.
They will never die. But yeah, I don't know. This is just getting me excited to see what the next iteration of the Nintendo Switch is. Because if these rumors are true,
good job, Xbox. I want a Switch.
Better internet, right? This means better graphics, servers, hopefully. Because, like, imagine playing like Sea of Thieves on the go.
Yeah.
And like you have like.
Oh, they're having like maybe like a 3G chip or like a 5G chip in a Switch 2. That'd be cool.
Oh, that battery life though. I don't know.
I mean, the Switch battery is pretty good.
If they're able to put
but that Switch battery is good because there's no constant internet like draining it. That's why.
I'm also just thinking about a future where I have to pop in a 3G chip into a PlayStation or a Nintendo Switch. That sounds like a nightmare. Yeah. That sounds like an absolute nightmare. Sign me out of
Sold
that one.
only by Rogers. I'm like, oh, thanks a lot, you know.
Oh, no, I'm okay.
Oh my god, no! I don't want to have to pay for Rogers or Bell to be able to play my Switch. No,
but you can play it on the subway.
Yeah.
I can just see it now. Kudu on the subway. Yeah, great.
Yeah. I kind of want to change topics here, unless anyone else has any to talk about.
If we're changing topics, unfortunately, I
just want to ask very quickly. It was actually, if you want to kick it off, and then if you had to bounce, absolutely. I want to talk about yellow paint in games, Steve.
Oh, fucking A. Oh,
That's right. That's right. Because I played a game recently, and like, it's something I wasn't even like paid attention of. But like, I played a game recently called Banishers of Ghost of Eden. Fantastic game, loving it so far. And Jesus Christ, there's yellow paint everywhere. I'm like, can I at least figure out where to go? like this is like, go here. I'm like, well, why don't you just play the game for me at this point? Like, there's paint everywhere. But go right ahead, Steve. What's the I saw this also funny, kind of funny. They were just talking about it, and they quoted you as well. So I want to get your take on it as well.
Sure. Yeah, it keeps coming up every once in a while. I came up around like I think Resident Evil 4 with the yellow ladders and the yellow boxes getting break, and then it came up again with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with the yellow ledges, and then this is actually the first time hearing about Banishers. I didn't realize it was in there
everywhere.
too. But I don't want to say it's all for accessibility reasons, because it's not. It's not what it was designed for, but it does benefit folks like who for because it adds like basically what it does is it adds an extra higher contrast for those who are low vision or have cognitive disabilities to be able to let them know where they want to go. And I actually explained it on I have a different sort of podcast. I have my own sort of thing, which by the way, you can listen to my new podcast tomorrow. It'll be all about Xbox thing, Gaming Insight. Look for it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. But I love the anyway, thank you. One of the things I said on there is that when developers are trying to be able to create a game that essentially they're always trying to be able to get the player to be able to have progressive movement forward. They want to make sure that their goal is to be able to have the player keep moving forward in a game, whether that's a single player game or multiplayer, whatever. There's always a starting point and an end point, and how the game gets you to that end point is up to the developers on how they want to be able to design a way for the players to be able to figure out how to be able to do that. So what do they do? They essentially create a visual or an audio language that is subtle to the player, but it's something that essentially a player can be able to learn as they play, to know that, okay, this is what I'm having to look out for. I have to find either entrances that have lights above them, or I have to look for yellow paint, or I have to look for signs or things that like are arrows that are pointing in directions, flashes, whatever. It's something that is narratively works within the game or within the game environment or the storytelling environment that the game is being presented. Whatever works natively within that narrative is something that they want to be able to tell the player, okay, you can go here, you can't go here. Because here's the thing, in Resident Evil 4, not all ladders are yellow. So that means that not all ladders are climbable. And same with like ledges in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Not all ledges are climbable. So even probably a Banishers, so probably certain areas that are not climbable or not like, in the direction where they want those players to go. So
yeah, I also put a prime example in our chat as well, but like they just dumped the paint. I was like, oh my god.
But if you come across that basically that log so he's showing, so for those listening or watching, basically there's a log that has yellow paint on it. That to me tells me that you can be able to jump over this log. But if that log was there and you couldn't jump over it, and you had to try to figure out which logs can I jump over, which logs can't I? I'm not sure. It is up to the developer to decide how they want to be able to environmentally tell the player where to go. But in some cases, the easiest way is to just, you have paint basically to let you know, yes, you can go here, you can't necessarily go there. So it's a language that the player eventually, by the time the game is done, they become fluent in, so they can be able to continue to progress forward to the end game. And that's essentially what it really kind of it boils down to. And yeah, is the yellow paint a little bit overused within the past couple of years? It just yes. Is there a better way to be able to do that? To do signposting of where to go? Yes, but in some cases, hey, you know what? Just throw it. What this shows is that they didn't really think about that, or they had players that got stuck in a certain area. So the easiest band-aid solution was just throw some paint on it, and that'll let the player know where to go. And then that fixes pretty much everything.
Because wasn't there also like a confusion where people thought it was more of like, oh, is this like an accessibility setting as well, or?
Some people were suggesting as a setting you can turn on and off. I mean, I'm for that, but there has been a sort of a push to be able to just put things into settings and put things into options. And the more you keep doing that, the more you get bloated settings like you would with The Last of Us or God of War, where there's too many settings and you can't remember which one or find the one that you need to be able to turn that on or off. And that can add that extra confusion. So in a sense, it just really comes down to if you can design it in a way that it makes sense within the narrative of the environment of the game without having to do yellow paint, then do that. But if it is a Band-Aid solution where they have to put that in, I think it just makes it easier just to have it by default.
Okay, cool.
So
cool.
Anyway,
awesome.
I gotta go. Thank you so much for the great conversation, y'all. It was great to talk Xbox. And I'm looking forward to be able to talk to you more next week about whatever we're going to talk about. But make sure to check out the podcast.
Probably direct, who knows at this point. Yeah.
Direct, maybe. Yeah. So, all right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye,
buddy. Steve, the only Steve now. Perfect. Basically,
the one and only.
The one and only. You won the war. Before we get into our lovely HellDivers, you played Foamstars? What were your thoughts on it?
I played it and I've quickly forgotten about it. I'll be totally honest. No, and that's not inherently like a diminishing on the game's behalf, because I think that the game is fun when you're playing it. It just so happens that it came out at like a really bad time. I think Square kind of just dumped it as a PS Plus game, and quickly right after, I think within a couple days, PlayStation had their own invested kind of multiplayer co-op game that came out, and people were like, well, I'm going to go play that. And launch day specifically, I tried to jump in, and there was a little bit of downtime where I couldn't find, servers, couldn't find a match to even begin with. But by the time HellDivers came out, I was struggling to party up with other people. Yeah. And I mean, Square hasn't really come out with engagement numbers or stuff like that. But to me, it just seemed like, okay, the player base isn't here. I can't invest my time in any longer than I already did, which at that point I think was like 6 hours, 7 hours. Yeah. I think for a game of that scope.
I still haven't played around. I'd like to play around with you though.
Yeah, I'd be down. That's
what do you think of the movement? I find a lot of people were complaining about the movement, or like it's not as smooth as I guess Splatoon. Let's be honest. What it's really trying to be in everything.
Yeah, honestly, I don't really understand how Square can come out and say, "Hey, we're not Splatoon," when down to your mechanics, you are Splatoon. Like the whole concept of the game is, using foam instead of paint, and it's essentially the same game, same objectives. But in terms of the movement, I thought it was pretty smooth. I do think that when you're trying to create your trails of foam and kind of establish, the groundwork to kind of start slipping around in, it's a little sluggish. But as soon as you get your surfboard in, you're zipping and zapping around, it's a lot of fun. I think that there's a lot of verticality to it as well. That adds a lot to the game, where you can like shoot continuously at a point on the ground, and your foam like builds up like a little bit of mountain, so you can like jump up there and get the height advantage over your opponents. There are a lot of layers to the game, especially when you look at the different classes and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, to me, it's just a Splatoon clone that right now just doesn't have a player base.
Yeah, I kind of wish I don't know why they didn't went the HellDivers route as well, putting this on PC on top of that, because if maybe would have helped out a little bit, I guess.
I think, this is just based on, my perception of it, is that they kind of wanted to chase the same kind of trend as Rocket League, where it's, hey, we're going to launch day and date, this PlayStation Plus, everyone's going to come over, but little did they know that PlayStation had other plans. And we're launching a game of their own that same week. So marketing and everything kind of quickly flipped over to HellDivers, unfortunately. Yeah, because it does seem like Foamstars should be a game that is just available on all platforms, Xbox as well.
I think it should be a free-to-play game, to be honest. I don't know.
Absolutely. The in-game cosmetics are egregious. You're looking at almost $40 for a bundle of skins. It's wild.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, for a brand new IP that has like no
and
brand recognition.
For the actual game?
It's PlayStation Plus right now, so nothing if you're a subscriber.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but it's like a standard. It's a standard price, though. I guess.
I think it's
this month.
$50.
50?
Don't quote me on that in Canada. Don't quote me on that.
Oof.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Fine.
That's
Well,
I mean, if it's 50 USD, it's $100 Canadian.
That's it. Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
but
Yeah.
like $40 for like a dish, and it's not even like a IP that is. Oh, what were they thinking? They weren't.
They weren't thinking because they should have went another $40 route, like HellDivers 2. Steve, you are you're the champion of this game.
God.
You're wearing on your back literally. You got something from HellDivers as well.
It's over there. I should have put it on for the show.
I also have one.
Riley also has one as well. You could have been twinsies. Yes,
twinsies. Yeah, no, I'm feeling very justified. I know I've been preaching the choir about this game for quite some time, and it all paid off.
Right.
I was right
the whole time.
Yeah.
So
don't ever question me ever.
It honestly might be. I think it's definitely my game of the year so far.
Same.
It's taken away from Prince of Persia. Wow.
Wow.
Fun.
I mean, I came
That's
into this
shocking.
game thinking, hey, this is going to be fun. I love the original HellDivers. It's a vastly different game just in terms of the perspective and scope and everything.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is going to be a fun game. If at worst, this gives me the same kind of experience that Outriders did, which was a couple of weeks palling it up with friends, playing it on my own in some downtime. I'm totally happy with.
And I enjoyed the story from that game too, actually.
Yeah,
that was
it
really
was totally
good.
solid. And I think if HellDivers was that, I'd be totally fine with that.
Yeah.
This game became so much more just because of how quickly it was adopted by people who, from my perspective, wasn't even expecting this game to kind of speak to them, like Riley, like Marcel, Steve Saylor jumped on, other people within our circles. They jumped. Like, I am getting hit up like almost every night being like, yo, we down for HellDivers? We down for HellDivers?
Well, even while we were playing, like a couple of your friends, or I think it was random people just jumping in.
And random people, yeah. And I think that's the best thing. And I put this out on Twitter as the biggest compliment I can give this game is how accessible it is. And I don't mean that from a literal accessible system wise, but just to the point that like no matter your skill level, no matter where you are in terms of level, in terms of loadout set, anything like that, you can just jump into a group of 4 friends, get into a mission, and just have some of the most hysterical fun I think I've had in years in video games.
Yeah.
Really?
Just period. I am laughing to the point where I have tears running down my face over stupid jokes, over stupid in-game
you are.
Like, it doesn't get old, Riley.
Yeah.
It never gets old. But like, the game just allows itself to be so full of like humor. It never takes itself seriously. In fact, I've often said that it's the antithesis of what Destiny is, where Destiny has so much baggage on it, whether it's the story, the in-game systems. There's so much that it detracts from a whole group of players jumping in together because like one person wants the story, the other person doesn't give a shit. And really, you're just kind of like fighting against the systems in the game. Here, there's really practically no story. You're creating the story. You're just jumping in with friends, having laughs the entire time. There's no in-game lore to really care about. You're just talking, you're shooting the shit with friends, and whatever happens kind of happens. It's just hilarity from start to finish. Intense ways too.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Go ahead.
Play. No, I mean, you're selling it for me. I've never played HellDivers. The only thing, because it looks like Starship Troopers.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So it's like that's kind of what caught my eye. But then because I haven't played the first one, I was like, no.
You don't
and
need
then like when you guys like messaged to be like play together, unfortunately I was traveling, so I couldn't like hop on that.
Oh
and play
man.
together. So I'm like,
Our group was full anyway.
Yeah,
we
we actually had a full group, so it's fine. But
well then.
So I'm actually curious. Have any of you two played it solo?
Yeah.
Yeah, and your thoughts on that is still the same, like impact of solo as well. Like for me, I felt so. Like when I played the game, I was like, okay, this is okay. Like I wasn't like as excited until like we were playing yesterday, and I was just like, and I also feel like the game has some of like a navigation problem. I'm like, where am I supposed to go?
there's some
like,
bugs.
I'm like, where am I going? Like it was like, oh, go get these codes. I'm looking at the map. I'm like, well, where am I going to get these codes from?
Are you playing on PC?
I am playing on PC. Yes. Yeah.
I'm on PS5.
I'm on
Yeah,
PS5.
yeah,
Oh well, I have
Riley,
tested on
I didn't
PC
ask
as well.
You, I asked Steve. So PS5.
I'm on PS5.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for the clarification. Yeah.
But like, so like for me, I was like, this is all right. But then like when you do get a group of friends, or even just people randomly, like you don't even know, like it's just anyone who just jumps in randomly. If you have an open lobby, then like the experience, that's where the game shines and everything. And I'm that's why when Riley said this like game of the year, I'm like, wow, you really game of the year. But like, do you count that just due to the fact you're playing with friends with this, or just the overall experience?
It's totally a social game. Like, it
Some
makes
people
the whole
only social game. Yeah.
The what?
Yeah.
Like some people only social game. Like there's certain
like,
games especially I will
find
not play.
I find a lot of joy in the social element of games in particular. I enjoy single player games as well, but like diving in with you, Marcel and Steve, we were crying, laughing, and just quipping back and forth. Like that definitely is like a huge element of it, but like the game also sets up that atmosphere to be jokey and fun. Like every tool and like even the themes and stuff like that. Like the opening is like, oh, sweet liberty, no.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Camille,
it's really
just a riff on Starship Troopers. Like it does not take itself
seriously. 100%. Yeah.
It is
there's so many ridiculous like one-liner like 80s like like space movie like theme. Like,
what I love about it is like there's a commitment to grow it too. So now I'm invested in it because I actually want to see it keep like snowballing. I want to see new enemies added, and I want to see new weapons and new armors and crossovers and different planets and all this stuff. Like now I'm like, oh, I'm super in. And obviously there are some bugs at launch, but I love that they did this thing. It's games as a service, but you don't feel obligated to spend any money at all. So it doesn't feel predatory at all. You earn everything just by playing. Like I didn't spend a dime on that.
It's actually set up in a way that they offer, the standard battle pass, which I think is $12 Canadian to buy in. They're not doing seasons as far as we know right now. So essentially they have the premium battle pass, which you can buy stuff via like in-game currency that you collect on your own, or you can buy just to kind of like decrease the amount of time that you have to spend. But I think it's every second Tuesday of every month, they add like an additional page to that battle pass. So it's expanding from there. So once you buy the battle pass, for the foreseeable future, you don't have to spend any additional money other than the base price and then the $12, which, for a $50 game, $12, you're still looking at less than a AAA game in Canada.
And I think they also mentioned that once you buy the pass, you keep the pass for like Fortnite.
Like Halo Infinite?
Yeah, exactly.
Like when you buy the pass, it's gone. Like you have to finish it this time. I'm like, but I bought it. Like I should be able to keep it, type of thing. I think this one you get to keep the battle pass and like finish at your own leisure type of thing as well.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool. Well, so okay, have all three of you played the first one? Oh, Simon, did you play this as well, or
no, not yet? But I'm actually super excited. I have a couple questions too, but you go first.
We're gonna make a squad that Riley's not invited. But no, I'm curious with compared to the first one, right? Because I don't know why HellDivers was.
I would have invited you, but
radar.
The squad was full. So
okay, sure, Riley, sure.
Is it?
There's a waiting list. Yeah, there's 4.
And you know what's really frustrating? Riley is like right next to my box, so it's like I can't look at Marcel without looking at Riley. It's kind of frustrating. Anyways, I'm just trying to block him out of my life right now because he was so mean, didn't want me in the squad. But compared to the first one, like, how would you rate this experience, Steve?
It's totally different. The first one is a top-down twin-stick shooter.
Really?
Yeah, and it's a very arcadey one. Tone-wise and kind of system-wise, it's kind of similar. But this game is very much adopting the games as a service model, over the shoulder for a third-person shooter. There is more of a commitment to the community thing that I think Arrowhead Games has really excelled at. There's like definitive emphasis on building a positive community. They came out even today and the CEO was like, we're not doing PvP because we don't believe in the toxic community of gamers. And I was like, hell yeah, man. That is exactly the response there, because you'll quickly find that people will just make it a toxic community.
The spirit of the game too, which is kind of like jokey and fun. Like it's always light, even when you shoot me in the head by accident and I'm
or to knock you down.
It's like like ragdoll, punch you in the face. Yeah, it's just always fun, which I like. I mean, it's obviously the people you play it with too will create that, but. Yeah, I don't know. I like the vibe of it is like really cool. Like, I must
say, even with randoms and not even talking with them is fun too. I must say, Go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
That's true.
Yeah.
No,
So
no,
it's
no.
is like the replayability there? Can you guys see yourselves getting like 400 hours, 1,000 hours, like over time?
Yeah,
Is this like
I
a
think
good
I could.
investment?
I think so.
Like-
the
Like,
nice
the whole
thing.
time I've
Sorry.
been on this podcast. Sorry, Steve. The whole
Yeah,
time I've
no.
been on this podcast, I just
You've
want
been playing. You've been playing it
just
right
like,
now.
I'm just
Actually,
like,
you've been playing. You've been playing this whole time, right?
No wonder he's been distracted.
Yeah.
So sorry, Steve. What were you gonna say?
No, I was going to say the game is currently, even in its early days, is set up so that you want to keep continuing to come back and everything. Like essentially, the game is set up so that not only do you and your squad have like daily missions to do and like individual missions, but as the HellDivers 2 community, you're all out there striving for the same goal, which is liberating individual planets in the solar system. So, for instance, the first week of launch, there was the goal to liberate 2 planets, and essentially, the more commutative missions that are completed, you're going towards like this percentage. And at the end, if both planets were fully liberated, everyone gets this massive like in-game currency bonus. And
cool.
one night, I think it was the Monday night before cutoff, one planet was done, the other planet was at like 78%, and I think me and Riley were like joking. I was like, I just don't know if we're gonna end up doing this. Like, democracy is dead. It's not gonna happen. And lo and behold, I logged in the next morning and I got the $10,000 in-game credit
I
thing.
got
It's
that
like,
too. Yeah.
the community is actively being there and supporting the game and going for these like larger than life like objectives. And I think as long as they can keep up with that and incentivize players to come back with additional pieces of content, whether it's a battle pass, whether it's additional planets, enemies, crossovers, like Riley was saying. I was saying there needs to be like kill zone or like
Yes.
like any kind of notable PlayStation property crossing over here. I think that I'm going to be playing this all year round, as long as Metro. Oh my God, Metro would be
Metro
awesome
would be a
too.
good one,
Yeah, as long as
feel
I
like
have friends to be playing with, I'm in.
There's almost
Well,
200K people playing on Steam just alone, which
really?
Right.
is
Holy
it's
crap.
getting
now?
like right now. Like it's like the 193. So like there's almost 200K right people going.
Wow.
Right?
Is it like voice chat even like with randos if you play?
It can
Yeah,
be.
you can be. Yeah.
Game if you want.
But
Yeah.
do you need it?
No.
Like does it
No.
affect
No.
anything?
No,
Not at all.
no. Yeah.
Because
you
like
can,
honestly,
you can like tag things and stuff so that you can
ping them. Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
point.
And-
especially like women in voice chat, sometimes it's just such a negative
Absolutely.
experience.
I will say though, just anecdotally speaking, so far everyone has kind of collectively been okay with this positive community thing, to the point where players have created like in-game rules where it's like, oh, if you go to like this like settlement area, this POI, and there's ammo lying around, you don't just take it all for yourself. You wait for your friends to get there or your randoms to get there, so everyone gets a little box there. When you're calling down your support things, share it with the rest of the people on your team. Like, people are actively going out of their way to uphold the studio's message of, hey, we're not going to be total dicks. We're not going to be toxic. So again, I'm a guy, plain old white dude over here. I'm playing with my friends for the most part, but so far it seems like the randoms, the random encounters that I am, it's a positive experience. So I hope that for, you, Camille, people who are going out there saying, well, maybe I don't have a full group of friends to play tonight, I'm just going to play with some randoms. Your friends, Camille, maybe they're already partied up a full waiting room
full and they just can't accommodate you.
Exactly. It's unfortunate,
whatever.
but I would hope that you would then be able to go out on your own, play with randoms, and still have a fun experience that you can then say, wow, I really want to continue playing this game, whether or not I'm playing with my friends.
I feel like you've said enough to the fact that Sammy actually put in our group chat she is downloading it on Steam.
Well, I put the prices, and I'm like, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's
I
cheap.
feel
Well,
like she's already on the track to press that. Bye now.
That's one of the cool things I like about it too, is that I feel like it validates like a lower price model of like a point of entry for like games in general. So if you can scale, like PlayStation scaling that service and stuff like that to allow these different types of games, like even Xbox with Pal World and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like I see these two games in particular really carving out like a niche bracket for like a new price point for a different type of game moving forward, as some of the AAA games are likely to go up in price and stuff over the next console generation.
Did any of you get the Super Citizen edition, or did you just get the?
Yeah, I did.
Super
PlayStation
Citizen.
gave me the Super Citizen.
Yeah, same
the
here.
the Super Citizen.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask, because I saw when you guys were squadding up without me, still hurt. Who was it? Was it
need you because we had
Riley, or was it Steve that was like the graphics were breaking?
Oh,
or,
the
like,
frames.
What was happening?
that was Riley.
What happened there?
I don't know. Like it started off like that. There are some bugs in it, but like it started off in like it started looking like maybe like 30 frames per second. I was like, oh, what's going on? And then it kept consistently getting grainier and grainier and grainier until it was like 3 frames per second. And I was trying to play through it, and Steve actually got me out alive. I don't know how that happened, but he got me out alive.
Because we're a team.
Yeah, but you landed on me. You killed me. So
I don't remember
seeing
after looking at the screen going 3 frames per second for like probably 15 minutes. I remember looking at my hands, was like, oh my god, like it's so fluid. Like this is incredible.
Yeah. There have been reports of there has been reports of the PlayStation having some frame issues. PC, it's fine on that side. So, and I also want to add, just connecting like the PlayStation and then PC is very very fluid. It's just it uses like a friend code, and then you can just I heard them talking through the voice chat, and it worked very well. So.
You were using Discord, or were you just using the in-game?
No, in-game chat.
In-game, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sold.
There we go.
Another one.
Got another one. You're welcome, PlayStation.
Man, I want to play. Can't right now.
Welcome to the HellDivers.
For
democracy.
Anyone tried on a Rogue Ally out of curiosity, or anyone who has a Rogue Ally tried it out? I
don't have one of those.
I have one. I only tested on PC, and I quickly dipped out when cross saves were not there.
Oh yeah, that's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, cross progression, all that. I was like, I'm gonna wait until they add that, and then I'll start playing around with the ROG Ally, because that is very interesting.
I kind of see how. Yeah.
Just drop in for like a match or two, because that's the beautiful thing is that. I've played matches where it's like, oh, someone just drops in for one mission. Yeah. Missions that usually last like, anywhere between 10 to half an hour, and then they just leave. They're like, oh, I'm going to bed or whatever. It's like it's so like non-committal.
Yeah.
Whereas like other games, you're invested. You got one more round. It's like, no, you can get exactly like enough out of one mission to be like, oh, I progressed enough that I'm good for the night. Or you're like me, who constantly just thinks about this game and is like, okay, or let's do 5 more. Let's get the jetpack. Let's unlock like all the new items and everything. So
yeah. I mean, or like Steve said, he ended up showing up literally when we were leaving on the mission, and he got free XP because of it.
Yeah. You level up like 3 times.
3 times from that. We're like,
I kid you guys not that he went from the tutorial to just joining us as we're running to the escape ship. Just being like, Steve comes down and we're like, go,
get on the ship. What are you doing here?
I don't know. And then all of a sudden he just gets enough XP to like level up 3 times. He's so overwhelmed, and we're like, that was amazing, Steve. How did you do that?
Perfect timing.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
it's cool too. Man. Like if you're like levels ahead of your teammate, like Steve has like this guard dog drone that I can't use yet because he's a higher level than me. But he'll summon one for me.
Okay,
and then I'll just have it, and it's like cool. Yeah. So you can kit out like your teammates that are just starting, right? And they can like get all the weapons and stuff.
Do you feel like, Steve, because you're like ahead, you put so much time in it, does it feel like you're like when you're jumping in and it's a breeze?
No, because so the game scales based on like difficulty. It's not scale based on your level. So we can all jump.
Player count, I think. Does it?
Yes, it scales on player count as well. So in terms of the like max revives and stuff like that. But the enemy types and like their difficulty is all based on like the mission difficulty itself. So the nice thing is that if you're jumping in with someone who's say 5, 6. 8 and then 10, everyone's kind of just based on that in-game difficulty, not their individual one. So yes, you might be hampered for not having like the best loadout out there, but like Riley said, I could drop down something that's slightly better or slightly more fine-tuned. You can just pick it up if you're lower level and just use it and take advantage of it. You're not really inhibited by the level per se. Just maybe you just don't have like the best loadout that's tailored to you.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, and it's a game I highly recommend checking out. Especially, it's a great game to play with friends, or even just play random as well. So, yeah, I think that's all the games that came out this week as well. On top of that, check out Banishers. That's another great. I feel
Mario versus Donkey Kong.
Mario vs. Donkey Kong is tomorrow, actually.
Yep.
Yeah. It's another one right there. Yeah, just a lot of. I feel like also like Focus Entertainment, who's like they work publisher wise. I feel like they're like a underrated publisher. I feel like because they brought out the whole Plague's Tale, and like this another game right here is it's another solid game. I'll just talk about it very quickly where you're just two banishers and you're just basically banishing ghosts back in like in the 1600 era, and you have a choice to make is to either sacrifice other people, real life people, so that your partner, your loved one, can take the essence from those people, and so that you can bring her back to life, or you can just finish the mission to what you're brought back for, and just let her set off. And I'm like, a part of me is like,
murder them.
I'm like, line them up, murder these people. That's too bad. You killed someone. I'm gonna take your essence away. Like, it's really cool with the consequences you're doing and everything. So. I'm gonna be continuing with that game so far. But Sammy, what have you been doing lately? What's up?
I've been checking out Skull and Bones for the last couple of days.
Oh yeah, that came out as well.
Tomorrow's the official launch date for that. But it's been fun. I like being a pirate, so enjoying that. We're actually doing a contest online right now.
That's right.
It'll be over probably a couple hours after you guys listen to this podcast tomorrow. So if you don't miss it, go on to Twitter and enter that contest.
More to come though, so there'll be more opportunities for other contests. Yeah. But yeah, Skull and Bones is another great one. I'm dealing with a certain legend ship. I don't want to spoil anything too much, but if you know, you know. So in a whoop me for sure. I sunk many times.
How many hours are you in, Marcel?
So I played. So the thing with this one, I played open beta and it carried over. So I'm probably like I could check for you actually if you want to talk about what's up with you this week, Steve, and then I'll let you know in a second.
I don't have that much to say about it. I was just really curious. I'm still very early on in the game.
15 hours.
Yeah, I'm like 3. Yeah. I'm like 3 hours in right now.
And then like once again, that's just due to like the open beta, and then be playing it on the 3-day early launch, basically. So it was just I basically the game has like let me do this one more mission. Let me do this one more thing as well. And they have this ridiculous cat that has a pirate leg and an eye patch, and I was like, I need it. And I was just buy it? No, it was 300 coins short. So close. I was really close to buying it. I'm like, that
is so adorable.
I might do it. I don't know.
You need it.
Stay tuned. I need it.
Give me that.
I want it.
Should have got that.
Yeah. Steve, before anything else besides HellDivers 2, you're gonna be playing right after this?
No, I'm just looking forward to the next opportunity where I can be diving into hell. But other than that,
doesn't it hit better with a southern accent?
It really does.
You have to say it with
southern twang, yeah. Brother. No, honestly, nothing really other than that. I put out my review of the PlayStation Pulse Elite headset. I find it very premium. I think it's a very good upgrade for people who might need a new headset on PlayStation. Mm-hmm. But other than that, just HellDivers, and I'm going to play a little more Skull and Bones. I really do want to get like a full in-depth scope of that game before I judge an opinion on it. Yeah. So I'll play some more over the weekend.
Yeah, I feel like that's also like another social game. So like I've been watching a lot of streamers who have they loved it when they're just like you're just rolling with a crew with ships. You're like, all right, you got your ship, I got my ship, and you just taking out other ships, and there is like a PvP mode as well, where like other people could like shoot your ship, but I think it's only like a certain event moment. So I'm still trying to figure that out.
Right. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet because I've tried to be toxic and go after other ones, and they're like, oh yeah, no damage here. I was like, oh, I showed my ass.
I would
see you later.
I would say just like shooting a ship, you're like, you know what, screw this. Just running them over is probably one of the most satisfying thing in this game. They're just destroying people, running them over as well. So, but yeah, we'll see what's going on with that. And also, did anyone see Zuckerberg dissing Apple Pro the other day?
I did see that. Yeah,
it's pretty hilarious. The Zuck, he's at it again. He's like, our product does all this already. Anyway, Riley, what's up?
I just want to play more HellDivers too. Like that's all I really want to do. I think probably
we need to get PlayStation to sponsor the next episode. Sponsored you by HellDivers, dude. You know,
I'll talk to them. We'll see.
Yeah, let's do this. Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I feel like after a big news day like this, I have to take a step back and process it all and kind of see how everything's landed and stuff. So I'll probably do that, and then have some chats and see how we can leverage the news meaningfully, because I think it's pretty exciting. And even talking to you guys about like playing some of those games on Switch and stuff like that, like the that element I think is really exciting to me. So I think that it's going to impact their Xbox's business well, and I think it'll impact the other consoles well. So anyway, I'm spiraling, but yeah, that's probably what I'm going to be doing.
Awesome. Camille, on location, what's going on?
On location, I'm in Brazil right now, in Sao Paulo for the 6th Invitational. We're in group stages right now. So it's just chill for me. I'm doing the reveal for year 9. So we filmed part of it already. And then the full roadmap is live in Stadium. And it's like sold out. There's like 10,000 plus people that are attending. So
when's the reveal?
On the 25th, the Sunday.
10 days.
Brazil goes hard. That's why every comment section says come to Brazil. It's because they're passionate.
Everyone listens to them. It's like, yeah, you're right. I will come to Brazil. You're right.
The war audience there too.
Community in Brazil is definitely very passionate, long time, community. So it's great that now SI gets to travel and see, like, bring that experience to the fans. So I think they're going to have lots of fun with it. And I'm just really excited. It's 2 hours ahead, so it's like nearing like eating time. Well, I've passed eating time. I should have ate already, but I'm trying to think what I'm going to eat for dinner. So once I figure that out, then I'll be napped. Well, I may actually jump back into tears because I'm trying to get all the Korok. So
Is it? Do you see the Xbox impact down there in Brazil? Out of curiosity, I know how much like people like they love Xbox down there. And I think it's also due to like the fact that there's a factory down there, and so many families like Xbox gave my dad a job, and then like so people kind of like a whole family investment happens there. Do you see that down there?
I just got here today.
All right. Well, what are you doing? Go outside. Come on.
I know. It's nighttime now, so going outside.
Knock on some doors.
Out there, be like, do you have
Xbox?
I've actually been, I have to find an Xbox controller for something else, so it's like I forgot mine, and like I think I lost my Xbox controller on my way here, so I'm dealing with that too. But other than that, great.
Awesome. Well, this has been a jam-packed episode. Thank you all for tuning in. We do appreciate it, and we'll see you all next week. Probably with the Nintendo Direct we had to wait for and everything. So we'll see you all next time. We'll see. All right. Take care, everyone.